Good morning, Raptor freaks. Alexiot's here. Monday morning, and the Raptors have completed the 2022-2023 NBA regular season yesterday. Everybody getting done early yesterday. All the games were afternoon games, so really by sundown, even on the East Coast, every single game was decided and figured out, and there was all kinds of great drama yesterday in the NBA and all kinds of stuff. We could feel real bad about our year. We get real bad about dysfunction on our team, but are we the Minnesota Timberwolves? No, we're not. Thank God. And even the Clippers having problems on the sidelines between players, Mason Plumlee and Bones Highland getting a little snippy with each other there. Lots of interesting stress and pressure on the last day of the season in different places. A lot of stuff happening already too. I just want to start off first with talking about Dwayne Casey stepping down as the head coach of the Detroit Pistons yesterday after their season ended. And he is not fired. He is not quit. He is getting promoted. And I love that he's getting the honor of not getting fired again in this kind of way. And that I think he's retiring from coaching. That he said that he's had 44 great years of coaching and that he's ready for the next challenge and that he's moving to the front office of the Detroit Pistons to be in the front office. I don't know if that means he's assistant GM or what the position title is exactly, but congratulations to Coach Casey, an important person in our history, retiring as a coach, it seems, yesterday and moving to the front office. You totally deserve this, and I'm glad that you're getting to leave that job in grace and not like the way that happened here in Toronto, that you've gotten to leave on your own accord. That's very awesome. And that makes me very happy. It does very much. Now, this means that the Pistons are going to be looking for a new coach. And this is also the Silas was let go yesterday. Steven Silas let go by the Houston Rockets. So there are jobs opening up already. We are still involved in competition. So we're going to have to see, as long as we survive in the playoffs, we'll see how long things with our coaching situation are the way they are. We'll have to see. All right, let me check in with you guys real quick. Logical Raptors fanatic here in first. Mike, good to see you, Mike, this morning. Salute the real ones, Project Truth always. So solid win, 500 season. Saw the shout out on Raptors tonight. yeah. I actually went in and participated on Raptors tonight yesterday. Raptors this afternoon. And actually got my comment read on Raptors tonight yesterday. So that's pretty cool. That's right. The Raptors Freak was the one that said thank you to the Randy Urban and Alvin Williams, Sherman Hamilton, and Paul Jones, and the rest of the crew all year long, thanking them for a great job all season long of doing the Raptors tonight after the games. Fantastic job, guys. Really, really awesome. They thought I was Randy and that I was kissing myself, my own butt. But no, that was actually a real compliment from somebody else other than Randy Urban, Alvin Williams, and guys. But they did actually say at that moment, they said, actually, you have done a good job, Randy. We're too hard on you. But yeah, it was fun to get read on there finally. And Shere Khan, of course, has been getting his comments read in there very often recently. And it's just fun to be in there for that second. I didn't think they'd read anything I wrote because I wasn't really trying to write any questions to them. I was just writing in the comments. But yeah, they did read what I said. That was pretty cool. Yeah, JYD there too. That was pretty awesome too. Like that just makes sense. That if my comment's going to get read, it'll be on the Raptors tonight where Jerome Williams is there hanging out with Alvin. So good to see two of the three jerseys that are on my wall over here that we see on my show all the time, hanging out together in person. And Jerome was really awesome. He was at the game, just being real positive, just being an awesome JYD that he is. Such a great ambassador for the Toronto Raptors fan nation and just a great dude all around. In fact, it was really fun to hear JYD's opinions on the Raptors now and talking with Alvin and all that stuff. So watch Raptors tonight from last night. Definitely for sure. Good stuff. And you'll see me mentioned in there. You'll see me in the comments. And Monique and Shere Khan and I taking over the comments yesterday. Nako the Nacho is here. Good to see you, Gerald. Gary, Koloko, and Scotty were our best players. All right, let's do the 3 stars of the game for the last game against Milwaukee yesterday. A fantastic win, a win we needed, a win that I wanted to even out our record. And Milwaukee didn't really care. They didn't show up with all their guys. So it was ours for the taking. And thank God we took care of business and we got it done. In fact, it was a very fun game because we got to see a lot of Raptors that we didn't get to see a whole lot during the season. And they did good things overall. Now, Gerald is picking Gary, Koloko, and Scotty. I'm going to pick Gary, Malachi, and Precious. So I actually have three others than you. I think that Malachi was absolutely really good yesterday because like he ran the point guard and he had a good shooting day. 7 of 14 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, a plus 11 with 20 points. Malachi Flynn. Actually, the funny thing I will say about Malachi is they were asking Nick after the game about, they kind of went down the whole roster and said, how do you feel like this person did for this season? How do you feel like this person did for this season? When he asked about Malachi, I was thinking about this. I was like, in some ways, a couple of days ago, I would have said that Malachi Flynn hasn't really developed or gotten better or done things in a certain way in the 3 years he's been on the Raptors, but that's not true. When we get to see him and we put him on the court, you actually do kind of see him becoming more veteran, even though he never gets to play. It's actually really weird because in some ways he's very smart, savvy player, but he doesn't get to play. So it's like he's doing all this work behind the scenes. And like whenever he pops up for air, kind of like a submarine, and we get to see it in play in the game, it's always kind of neat to see track his progression. And one of the things I'll say about Malachi is that he's much more savvy and smart and kind of confident and doing kind of things that like Fred and Kyle would do in some ways. There was one play where he does this all the time, but it's very successful, where he runs through after the rebound underneath the basket, and he kind of comes up behind the guy who gets the rebound, and he kind of tries to shuffle it out of their hand. Well, he's done this a few times in his career, and he did it again last night, and it's so successful. He just has some savviness to him that is about right for where he is in his years in the NBA. So in some ways, I can't say that Malachi hasn't been developed. That there are the signs from things that he did last night in the game, just how efficient he was and just how well he played overall in general. He really has been somebody who has progressed in the last 3 years. It's just that we don't see it enough. He doesn't get enough time out there for us to actually see what he has actually been doing. And I'm very proud of Malachi actually, because he's hung in there and been the ultimate pro in a very difficult situation where it seems like he's just not given a chance. Gary Trent is my number one star of the game. He is the guy for sure. He played pretty much only the first half, but he was fantastic. 23 points. I knew this is his pattern. It takes him 3 games to get back. It's always going to be screwy if he's gone for a little bit for the first 2 games back. In fact, he may be so screwy in the first game, he'll miss all of his shots. Well, he made a little bit more of them in the second Boston game. And then in this game, he was back to his normal self. 7 of 13 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, which was very, very nice to see. 5 of 5 from free throw, 1 rebound, 3 assists, plus 14, the highest plus minus on our team yesterday, and 23 points. Gary Trent Jr. was the man. He was the leading scorer, and he was that dude. And I was so happy to see it because we need him for Wednesday against the Bulls. Gary, my number 1 star. Malachi, my number 3 star. And my number 2 star with a double-double is Precious Achiuwa. 6 of 11 from the field, playing with the confidence and a swagger. Precious was just really cool and awesome. 2 of 5 from 3. 13 rebounds for Precious. 1 assist, 2 steals, and 14 points. The double-double, 14 and 13. I love that kind of stat line from Precious. That really is. Those are the kind of stat lines we've had from him in the last 2 years when we know he's on it too. So in some ways, having Pascal, Fred, and OG sit yesterday was really, really good for Gary and Precious to step up and have really good, solid, productive games to give them good confidence going into this play-in tournament. So I'm really happy about that. We'll look at the guys that you mentioned also. Koloko off the bench, 3 of 4, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 7 points, a plus 10. Very solid, very, very solid. I wish he'd gotten a block or 2, but that's c'est la vie. That is what it is. And then the other guy you mentioned was, who was it, Nako? You were saying Scotty. Yeah, Scotty was okay. I mean, 4 and 9 from the field, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 points. The 5 assists are fun. He very much was hooking guys up. In fact, you saw him hooking up Chris and Precious with crazy dunks. In fact, this game became like a dunk competition at a certain point where like it was just fun. Scotty does a 360 dunk. Precious is hammering them down, and Chris is just like doing some crazy dunks that he doesn't normally do. Like he doesn't quite often do like a 2-footed step up dunks, like 2-footed jump up dunks right next to the basket and kind of just throws it down on people. And he was doing that yesterday, Chris Boucher. And that was fun. Just all kinds of dunk highlights. I know Fun Guy went to the game yesterday, and I'm sure he got a good, real delight and treat in how many highlights he got to see in person there with all the amazing dunks and stuff like that. In some ways, when you bench guys, you're not going to see Giannis, you're not going to see Fred, you're not going to see Pascal. Sometimes the fans get a little upset, but they definitely got their money's worth yesterday. They had the fan appreciation day, and they were giving stuff out like crazy to everybody there, giving out tickets to all kinds of events, giving out sneakers, giving out drawings by the Raptors of the Raptor. Like whoever got those framed pictures that Fred, Scotty, and Pascal drew, or OG, it was OG, Scotty, and Freddie drew. Those are one of a kind, amazing pieces that you got. A drawing, Fred VanVleet drawing the Raptor. It was so crazy. Now, out of those 3 drawings, I'm going to have to say that OG's drawing was the best one of the 3 of the Raptor. Scotty's looked really weird. As he said, his looked like it was wearing a chef hat. You don't want to see this on the regular broadcast. This was on the in-game ops in between commercials inside the arena, but it's just so funny. And whoever got those pictures, that's amazing thing to have. Seriously, it's framed and even signed. They signed them. So yeah, amazing, amazing stuff. Just a great atmosphere in the building. I don't know if Fun Guy being down there was a big part of it, but that crowd was rocking for a middle of the day Sunday, Easter Sunday. They were not docile and peaceful. No, they weren't. That crowd was awesome for the last game of the season, and they were definitely having a good time down there. You go. And it was funny. All right, Goran played, right? He didn't start, but he came in off the bench. And of course, we booed the hell out of him. Good job, fans. You did such a good job booing him last night. And everybody's like wondering, why are they booing Goran? Alvin said it at one point in the broadcast. He said, Matt, why are they booing Goran? Why are they booing my man Goran so much? And Matt's kind of like trying to describe it or explain it to him, kind of like how a dad would explain something to a kid. Well, you see, Alvin, Goran came here and he said that he didn't really want to be here, and he had higher aspirations. And he's like, oh, Alvin's like, okay, I can see why they're booing him now. All right, then you go on, crowd, and boo him. And they did. They booed the hell out of him. In some ways, people think that's petty. Some people say, let it go. But no, listen, in sports, these kind of things are fun for fan bases. There needs to be villains for fan bases. There's villains in every fan base. And we just happen to have him as one of our villains. And there are very good reasons for why Goran Dragic is a villain to the Toronto Raptors fan base. And it doesn't even have to totally do with him coming here and rejecting being a Raptor and like quitting and saying, I don't even want to play. I'm just like, don't play me. I want to leave. Get me out of here. It's not even all that people don't realize that. It has to do with when he played for the Miami Heat. That, he played for the Miami Heat for so many years, and he was against us in the playoffs. And he was dirty in those series. He did some dirty stuff to Demar and Kyle in playoff games that was so dirty and rotten. In the hockey games, if there's a Montreal Canadiens player that's a goon, if there's a Donald Brashear or something like that out there, the hockey fans don't forget them. And they give them to them. There's goon guys in the NHL. They get that kind of treatment, I'm sure, at Leaf games. So don't get mad at basketball fans for having goon kind of villain players that we deem that they're like that, and that we want to boo, because that's part of the fun of participation of being a crowd at a sporting event. And a lot of these guys embrace being a villain. Some people really like being a villain, and they don't mind this. Dylan Brooks. Chris Boucher has said he doesn't mind being a villain himself. So in some ways, I think if Goran is sensitive to us booing him so much, get over it, bro. You are a villain. If you're unhappy about, are you going, shh, did you do any shushing last night? I don't think you did. I didn't see you do any shushing to the crowd last night. Listen, embrace it, bro. Your name and the way you are, it really is like a Bond villain. And you are a villain in Raptors land because, first of all, you did the wrong thing when you came here. And then, second, you were a goon and did dirty shit to us in a very heated Raptors Heat playoff series in the past. We don't forget about this shit. Some of the newer fans may not know about your history with us from like 2015, but we do. I do. I remember everything you did back then. And that is why I boo him. And that is why I encourage people to continue to boo him. And never forget, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. Teams can have villains. And there are in all sports. It happens in every sport. So there's no big deal about it. All right, let's see. Fiercely Saw Sarah saying, good morning, family. Well, so glad we got the win and finished with a 500 record. On to the play-ins. Let's grab the Bulls by the horns. Yes, Fiercely. I really hope so. All right, on ESPN this morning, there's an article about all the teams involved in the playoffs. And I'm just going to read the little section that has to do with us. And let's see what they're saying. This is Kevin Pelton, who's written our little section on the Raptors and what to look at. ESPN is saying that the Toronto Raptors like to run while the rest of their offense lags behind. Among teams that reach the postseason, Toronto ranks last in points per play and half-court offense for cleaning the glass. The Raptors compensate by getting out in transition more often than anyone else, but no team ranks so low has won a playoff series since the 2013 Indiana Pacers, who were 25th but reached the conference finals with a stout defense. So they're basically saying the only way we're going to get anywhere is if our defense takes us there. And I have to agree with them. Our offense has not showed a consistency or a dependability that we can really count on them to show up and take us home and win games for us, which is too bad. They are saying also, this is great because this is the time of year when we want this, but they have one of the league's premier defensive stoppers. OG Anunoby has a special combination of three traits rarely found together: a high steal rate, top-tier on-ball defense, and shot creation on offense. Just three other rotation players, Alex Caruso, Herbert Jones, and DeAnthony Melton, have both defended players with an average usage of 26% or higher and have a steal rate of 0.02 or better. None of the other three defensive specialists averages more than 10 points per game. So this is kind of, in a way, some shine and spotlighting OG Anunoby in here for more Defensive Player of the Year consideration. In fact, we see we saw on the press conference after the game, both Precious and Nick Nurse kind of like politicking for OG to win Defensive Player of the Year. In fact, Precious was asked straight up, is OG Defensive Player of the Year? And he said, yes, he is the Defensive Player of the Year in my book, and he needs to win it. And that is what OG thinks. And Nick Nurse making a good case for him also, talking about how he could guard anybody on the other side. And he always gets the toughest assignment to guard on the other side. So there is a very strong push right now for OG in a campaign to get him some sort of Defensive Player of the Year award after the season right now, if not the Defensive Player of the Year award. I think that's unlikely just because of our record, but he should get consideration for defensive team for sure. Also, he led the league in steals, which is a fantastic accomplishment that everybody should be talking about today. That, it's not often that a Raptor leads the NBA in a stat category. In fact, Marcus Camby led in blocks a long time ago, and that may be the only other time other than the minutes thing that Pascal's done the last 2 years. In fact, that's another accomplishment. Pascal Siakam has played the most minutes per game the last 2 seasons. He's led the league in minutes per game 2 seasons in a row now. And the last person to do that was LeBron James, just so you know. So he's getting used like a lot the last 2 years, a lot of miles, a lot of running by Pascal the last 2 years. The last little bit of part that Kevin Pelton is writing about the Raptors in his preview for the playoffs is saying they have off-season questions at guard and beyond. Toronto has to decide on whether to bring back unrestricted free agents Gary Trent Jr. and Fred VanVleet. For now, the Raptors have a little salary committed beyond next season, which could allow them to pursue a max free agent to pair with former Rookie of the Year Scotty Barnes. He's still Rookie of the Year technically right now. You call him former after we give somebody else the award. How about that, ESPN? Just how big the next deals for Trent and VanVleet are could hinge in part on their postseason performances. Overall, the Raptors still haven't picked a direction. Yes, Toronto added Jakob Poeltl at the deadline, but that move doesn't preclude a bigger one to either send out Anunoby or Pascal Siakam or add another star to the mix. So they're doing a lot of speculating about our future and possible changes that we may make. All right. Well, listen, nothing really bad in that whole statement of what they're saying about us in ESPN. It's all pretty fair from what I could read. Guardian Transit saying it was good to see our other guys get time on the floor. Yeah, I agree with that. Very, very good to see Malachi, Gary, Ron Harper came out and he was fantastic. 22 minutes, 4 of 6 from the field. He hit a 3, 4 rebounds, assist, 10 points for Ron, his best pro game so far in his very young NBA career in his rookie year, his last game of the season. Delano Banton showing strong stuff again. He took a lot of shots for 19 minutes, 5 of 12. He missed all 3 of his threes, but two offensive rebounds, 5 rebounds altogether, 7 assists. Delano actually getting the most assists out of anybody in the game in shortened minutes and 11 points. Delano was really good on the down low. Will Barton played quite well also. 5 of 9, 2 of 3 from 3, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 12 points for him. And, Chris Boucher, 4 of 5, 2 of 2 from free throw line, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, a block, and 10 points. Chris was kind of stat stuffing, which I like to see. Poeltl didn't play a whole lot. He only played in the first half, but he was fine. He didn't have to do a whole lot. And then Joe Weezy, really sad. I feel bad for Joe. He got out there and he got 6 shots up, but he missed every single one of his shots. He got an 0 for, and they were really trying to get him some points on the board for yesterday. That was like one of the things they're doing. Every single shot he took, he missed. 0 for 5 from 3. And I know that he's really mad at himself and disappointed because this was really a time when he needed to show up and do something and show something. In some ways, people may be like, what? We didn't convert Jeff Doughton for this guy? Well, he had a bad game. And we got to see if Joe Weezy can get something developed this summer and hopefully become some sort of sharpshooter off our bench, even if he gets to the level like Matt Thomas or something like that for us next year. It'll be worthwhile. We just need another 3-point shooting threat that's on fire, that can hit him and is very much like capable in that way. And that's why we're keeping him around and we're not converting Jeff Doughton. Jeff Doughton's fine with it, man. He's so happy. You see him on the bench and he's sitting there with OG at the end of the bench and they were palling around and talking a lot. And this is something I really like to see with Jeffrey because, when he first came to the Raptors this year, he was kind of always, I could tell from the body language and things, he was kind of not totally accepted and part of the group, the clique of the Raptors, the guys who play and stuff. But because of his really strong play and consistency all season long, he's gained the respect of all the main important Raptors. And he is very much a part of that unit and that chemistry at this point. That you can see him. He's bonded with OG. He's bonded with other people like Scotty. And they have said, yeah, you're a dude. You're one of our dudes. You're good. And I like to see that because it wasn't that way all season long. There was very much a separation. But he's in the fold. He's definitely in the fold, and I can tell that he's a part of the future plans for our nucleus and our rotation. And the other Raptors are signaling that. But it was really nice to see him palling around with OG at the end of the bench when they're both not playing and talking about the game a lot during the game. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Freak crew. 500. Thank goodness. We made it after all the challenges we had this year. Our bench had a great performance and made us proud. And happy they gave us the W. Core was supporting loudly from the bench. Yeah, Scotty was yelling like crazy. after one of the Precious dunks. Oh, oh. So everybody's kind of looking at Scotty for a second because he yelled so much. But I love seeing that enthusiasm, and I love seeing that that support, that kind of feeling about the other guys and how they're playing, and it is exciting to see that kind of stuff. I mean, Precious, that one dunk when he put it on the floor, dribbled a couple times, and then came up and just jammed it on them. Oh my gosh, he is crazy good. I really like Precious a lot, and I think he's a really unsung Raptor that we should appreciate and put a spotlight on more, because there's so much to like about him in different ways, as far as his ferocity, as far as attacking the rim. His really surprising threes have been fantastic. And then, there's certain things about him on defense that are actually really, really super good. He is closer to OG than most people in this NBA. And I think that he doesn't get enough credit for the defensive stuff he's doing for us on the court all the time. But yeah, really, really fun game last night. And thank God we got the 500. Cool cat. Think about this season and every single up and down we've gone through every day talking on this channel. And now we got to the end, and we did finally end it at 500. And now we got to face Demar. Oh my gosh, Demar and the Bulls on Wednesday. This is going to be something else. And we'll be talking more about it as in the days to come. MSJ is here. Good to see MSJ. A great Raptor freak, hanging in through the whole season and being here the whole time. Really happy to see MSJ this morning. Let's see. 500 has only been done twice before, oddly, or once before, oddly. And cool, you had your comment read. Now on to the few wins in this play-in. This team can pull it off for sure. I really hope so. I really, really do hope so. Yeah, we were 500 in like 2007 or something like that. We had a 41-41 season before in Raptors history from before. I'd forgotten about that season. I think I blocked out some of those seasons that were around that time. Yeah, we've had a 500 season before. And yeah, it was kind of cool to get my comment read. I like what they were saying about the play-in on there. I mean, they're kind of right. This is kind of how they look at it. We should beat Chicago here on Wednesday because we have home court. And we beaten them both times we played them here in Toronto this past season. But, the last time we played them here in Toronto and we beat them, Demar was so upset after the game. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I watched. After the game, he left the court angry, and I could see him very upset in the hall to the locker room, that he had his head down and he was kind of kicking something and he was mad. That's what I'm saying. This dude really wants to beat us on Wednesday. He doesn't want to lose in our building. And there's a lot to it. It's personal in some ways to him. And that, in the middle of the game last night, Alvin's talking about that, an X factor for the Bulls is going to be the desire to beat us. And that I worry about our Raptors being too casual and not like meeting the desire of DeMar DeRozan and Patrick Beverley. That those two people in particular, as Alvin pointed out in the broadcast, they have chips on their shoulder and they kind of play for an extra little special meaning than the average NBA player. And in DeMar's case is very personal. We know why he would want to get up and want to eliminate us and put us out. We know exactly why, obviously. With Patrick Beverley, he's just crazy. And he's that kind of guy that, like, those kind of games, you can think about the play-in game last year with Minnesota and how he celebrated about that game and winning and all that stuff. So that's what I'm saying. These guys have an X factor about caring and going the extra mile a little bit more. And I hope that we have guys that will actually take things seriously. I don't want the Raptors to be casual about this game, because if we're casual about this game on Wednesday, we're going to lose and we're going to be eliminated right away on our own home court. That this is maybe the most important thing that they got to figure out is, how to get your energy to match these guys that are going to be really at a high level of like, I want to kill you kind of like thing. You guys can't come in half-assed. You're going to really have to be ready to deal with a DeMar DeRozan that absolutely wants to destroy us. Now, he had an interview yesterday after the game, and I actually watched it, DeMar DeRozan, and they're asking him about playing the Raptors and what's coming up. And he said, they really, really try to take the ball out of my hand, and they don't want to let me be the one that beats them. That they'll really focus on me, and they absolutely do not want to let me beat them. That they all run at me, and they send OG, they send everybody at me, the kitchen sink, and try and stop me. Well, that's what we're going to try and do again. Hopefully we'll have good success. But we're going to know that, like I said, this X factor of really, really wanting it. Who's going to want it more? And in some ways, I worry that we're going to lose that battle because we're kind of where we're at with our situation with our coach and our players kind of being kind of like, it's a kind of aloof, whether they're very much like, I, the Tiger, I'm going to kill you kind of mentality. Like I know that DeRozan and Beverly will have on Wednesday. And that's something that, we got to match. We have to match it. That's the only way we can beat them. We have to match it. Let's see. And then, they think we're going to beat them, Alvin and them on Raptors tonight. And then we're going to play Atlanta because they're pretty sure Miami will beat Atlanta in their matchup. And so we'll be going to Atlanta to play the Hawks on Friday, if they're right about us beating the Bulls. So it's going to be an interesting little week with the play-in, and hopefully we'll have some success. And hopefully, I'd like to at least win Wednesday. If we win Wednesday, I'll feel pretty good. But if we lose on Wednesday, I'll be like, yeah, this sucks, but whatever, we deserve it. But Friday, if we can win on Friday too, and actually get that series with Milwaukee, woohoo, that'll be very interesting and fun. Because in some ways, we really do match up Milwaukee in a nightmare kind of way for them. And we have good success with them, even with all their guys. We will be able to give them a good run for their money because in some ways they're a similar kind of team to us. And we could probably, we could really mess them up, honestly, as an 8th seed opponent against the 1st seed. Fiercely saying, what do you think of Woj's report announcing Stephen Silas's end of tenure and listing possible candidates, including Nick Nurse, if he becomes available? That's exactly what was written in the report. Yes. Well, this is just open public knowledge at this point. This is why what Nick did is so fucked up and why I'm so mad at him. It's because they can openly speculate like this, and it's not like anybody will disregard it or say it's just a rumor, because there's actually real truth to it because we've heard it out of his mouth. And that's what I'm saying. The writing is all on the wall. People are starting to position themselves with their coaching situations to be able to get in the coaching market and try and grab a new coach. The Pistons, the Rockets, there's going to be other teams that are going to do this too. It could very well be that the Hornets are looking for a new coach this summer again already. There's a lot of teams that may be involved in this, and we are maybe going to be one of those teams also. So in some ways, like they've done already, like getting rid of Silas and Casey getting promoted, they're already involved in the coaching job search because they're not involved in any competition as a team anymore. So in some ways, one of the hidden benefits of maybe getting eliminated early means that we can actually get involved in the coaching competition to get a new coach also earlier than teams that may have to play out longer and those kind of ways. Also, it could mean that we free up Nick to go get hired by another team earlier also. So we'll have to monitor all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's open knowledge. It's out there that this is a very real possibility that, we're going to fire Nick Nurse and that he's going to go be hired by the Houston Rockets. I'm not upset about it. That doesn't make me insulted or anything because it's just how it is at this point. Nick has made it clear that this is actually real. So I think that Stephen Silas is going to get hired by the Boston Celtics, and he's going to become their number 1 assistant underneath Joe Mazzulla. I'll make that prediction right now. Stephen Silas's father was a great Celtic, and he has a strong connection to that franchise. And I could see that happening for him. He may not get a head coaching job again right away, but he may get one down the road. But his next job will be something like that. He's probably going to be going to the Celtics and being their assistant coach underneath Joe Mazzulla. So we'll have to see. Troy is here. Good to see Troy Henry. Yes, sir. That win was money. My prediction was wrong, though. I was hoping for 1 over 500, but that season ain't important anymore. Well, I'm just glad we won as many as we lost. In some ways, that duality, the way that the road schedule and the home schedule and their records were like duality, 27 and 14, 14 and 27. We really weren't a good road team this year. It's really weird. But yeah, in some ways, I would have thought our record would have been better if we were a better road team this season. In some ways, there were a lot of games on the road that were lost, that were close. And that is where we needed to improve this year, is play better on the road. We did pretty good at home. We were pretty good at home, but on the road, we were not good this year. And normally that's the weird thing because we were really good on the road because of Tampa. And even last year we were really good on the road, but this year we were not. And it's really weird. Let's see. G saying Fred posted Scotty's dunk. I think we can now put to rest that they don't get along. They have both posted about each other within a week. Yeah. Everybody was putting everybody on blast, each other. Like Scotty put Precious's dunk on blast, and Chris, and everybody's posting Scotty stuff. Yeah, for sure. They're all being supportive of each other and showing that there's that kind of stuff. Like Fred definitely showed off Scotty's highlight 360 dunk from yesterday on his Instagram. And that's what I'm saying. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Are they doing that just to say, "Oh, look, they're doing that"? No, what they don't do that kind of shit. This is real. This is a real thing. They do support each other, and they really are looking out for each other. As above, so below. Sup, Lex? Today hit me like a cheap shot from Rudy Gobert. Yeah, this is crazy. There's a weird duality to this season, kind of like a bookends of like insecurity speaks loudest or something like that. Was like a tweet that Rudy Gobert made after Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole. He said, insecurity speaks loudest or something. And well, Draymond's turned around and tweeted that yesterday after Rudy tried to take a punch at Kyle Anderson in the middle of the game in the timeout. And it's so crazy. It's like he's saying, why don't you get a block? Why don't you get a block, Rudy? And Rudy's like, why don't you get a rebound? And they're like yelling at each other. And then for some reason, I guess they just have been at odds and they don't really get along. There's been even media recently where they've said like, he's really hard nosed, but I like him and I respect him still. But in some ways we don't get along. Rudy was saying that, well, he took a swing at him in the middle of the game and he had to leave. And they like excused him from the game. They sent him home, like Rudy Gobert. Like this dude's an idiot. Seriously, I'm so glad we didn't go anywhere near him last summer. Like seriously, he was actually somebody we were considering trying to bring to Toronto. Thank God that we didn't do that. This guy's lazy. He's kind of an imposter. He's a really, really big dude who has a big NBA body, but in some ways he's not a professional. He's a clown. And it's too bad because he could be one of the greats in the league, but there's problems with him. There really are problems with him. There's a reason why Utah didn't want him. And now it seems like Minnesota's going to probably want his ass out the door this summer too. So, because that is a real big problem, like him just swinging on somebody in the middle of the game. And then Jaden McDaniels breaks his hand punching the wall on the way out. And amidst all this chaos, all this craziness, they're in this game with the Pelicans. It is really important. Like it's going to decide whether they're like us, whether they're going to be in the upper play-in or the lower play-in on the Western side. And they somehow managed, Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards kick some ass, then beat the New Orleans Pelicans with Brandon Ingram, Jonas, CJ McCollum. They have a pretty good team. They don't have Zion. And they beat them, and they end up getting that 8th seed and putting Minnesota in the 8th seed and the Pelicans down in the 9th seed in the lower bracket. That game mattered so much. And it had so much controversy and adversity for the Timberwolves, but they still won. Chris Finch, wow. Your team is a dumpster fire, but they were very successful yesterday, which is crazy. And some people are coming down on the Clippers for winning yesterday. No, screw that. I want to see the Clippers versus the Suns. Because everybody's saying that the Clippers had just lost yesterday. They'd be playing the Sacramento Kings in the first round instead of the Suns. And they're saying that was a mistake because the Suns are way harder than the Kings. Well, that seems silly to me in some ways. They needed to win yesterday, and I'm glad they did. And it's sending a statement. Now it's going to be an epic battle. There's so much to that matchup, Phoenix versus the Clippers, because of all the history between like Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. And Paul George. You got all this history in that matchup. That's going to be an epic battle. Some of the Western matchups are very fun. They're very, very fun. And the playoffs are going to be an interesting year. Really, really interesting year. Let's see. Nako's saying, I like our season more than Dallas's season. Oh, yeah. I mean, and look, did we do this on the last day of the season, what the Timberwolves did? How do you think Timberwolves fans feel right this second? Seriously, there's all kinds of dumpster fires in this league right now that are much worse than ours in some ways. Now, we are one of them. But these ones, oh my gosh, crazy fights on the sidelines yesterday. This is crazy, 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 crazy. All right, let's see. Amit's here. Amit the GOAT. Yo, what's up, Amit? We're playing trivia on Tuesday, tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow at 9:30. We'll have some Tuesday trivia, Raptor Freak Tuesday trivia. So I know you like to play, Amit. So hopefully you'll be here tomorrow too. Cool Cat's saying my stars from the guys we don't see: Flynn, Banton, and Koloko. Yeah, Flynn was definitely really, really capable and did really well with a long, extended period of time on the court. He had the most minutes out of any of the Raptors yesterday, and he made the most of them. He really did. He looked really, really good. Looked really, really solid. I loved seeing the ball come out of his hand on three, and there's all kinds of good layups and just really astute stuff he was doing. Of course, the competition was a little bit less than normal NBA competition, but still, he looked real good last night. Banton, fantastic. He's had a good couple 2 games now. He's just come on real strong right at the end of the season. And that's the kind of thing we want to see. Because Delano, there's been questions about his season, whether he's progressed or not. Well, I think he did all right the last 2 games. And he's showing an aggressiveness and confidence that really is good. And Koloko, yeah, nothing wrong with Koloko. This is the first year of Koloko. In fact, we're going to remember baby Koloko from this year, and it's going to be a totally different Koloko in the next couple years. But the old clips from this season of Koloko's rookie year will be fun and vintage because we'll remember baby Koloko. But when real Koloko and better Koloko comes down the road, these vintage clips will be fun and they'll be kind of cute. Oh, I remember when Koloko was a rookie and everybody could push him around. And now that he's strong like Serge, he can stop that and he doesn't let anybody do that. That's what Alvin was saying about him last night, is that when Koloko gets stronger and he can hold his center of balance harder, stronger from people pushing him around or pushing him out, this is going to improve him so much, like as far as his defense and stuff. So he's just got to get stronger and be able to hold his ground as a center down low. And when he's able to do that, he'll be way more effective and we'll be able to play him with no issues with that kind of stuff happening. And that's going to be fun. So I'm excited about Koloko's career. There's so many good things that seem like they're going to happen with him as far as what he could develop into. Kareem's here. Good to see Kareem Thomas, dunk champion. He is the guy who's leading the league in dunks on our channel here. Let's see. Precious is going to be my outlier for the play-in tournament. He has so much untapped skills, and other teams won't be prepared for it. Also, I'd rather play Miami. We outsize them greatly. Yeah, no, you don't want to play Miami. Let them go ahead and seriously, part of it is also we want Miami to play Boston. Seriously, we want Miami to play Boston. Think about that. Think about that thorn in the side of the Boston Celtics having to play the Miami Heat in the first round. That sucks for them. Seriously. That would be such a really, really tough first round opponent for them. I'd much rather them play Miami than Atlanta. So I'd like Kyle and them to take care of business at home court against the Atlanta Hawks, who have been very mid and not totally that great recently. And, we won't have as good a chance against the Miami Heat on Friday night if they're the ones who lose to the Hawks. We won't, seriously. Going against Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry in an elimination game, no. We don't want that, seriously, especially if it's going to be in Miami in their building. I'd much rather go to Atlanta and try and beat the Atlanta Hawks in their own building on Friday night. So we do want Miami to win their play-in game and just get into the 7th seed against the Boston Celtics. It's just a way better first-round matchup against the Celtics, and we don't want nothing to do with the Miami Heat, trust me. They may be smaller and they may be older, but that's part of it. They're older and they're wise and they're savvy, and they got Kevin Love and they got Victor Oladipo and Bam Adebayo, and they got a very stacked veteran team that knows how to win in the playoffs and that will do whatever it takes. It was really cool to see the ceremony for Udonis Haslem yesterday. In fact, Precious speaking glowingly about Udonis after the game, saying he's going to have to call him and thank him and talk to him about his retirement game. Because he's retiring, and he's going to be going. And they made a big deal out of it in the game yesterday. He got to play a lot, and he scored a bunch of points. He got a 3-pointer. He got an alley-oop. and everybody's going crazy. And Dwayne Wade was there wearing the Udonis Haslem jersey and celebrating him. And they Bronny, their mascot, and Bam Adebayo brought him out a rocking chair and they put it in the middle of the court. And it was really cool. It was like detailed like one of those Kyle Lowry golf bags. And it had like it may have been done by the same company, Kyle Lowry's golf bag company, and it had all the championships listed on the side of it, and it had decals on it. Really, really nice rocking chair, really apropos, really funny kind of little celebration for such a great old vet. In some ways, I don't want Udonis Haslem retiring to signify this whole decline in veteran leadership and presence in the league. In fact, in some ways, it does signify that him retiring and him not being in the NBA anymore really does show that vets are going extinct in our league. And I hate that. You got to figure this out, Adam Silver. You got to make it so that it's conducive and incentivized for teams to want to keep vets around. Maybe the smart ones will know that you got to have vets to win championships, because that is really damn true. All the real championship contenders have vets and have a veteran team, and they're not one of these young teams that are just coming up. So in some ways, the real championship contenders are teams like the Miami Heat, the Golden State Warriors, the Boston Celtics, teams, Phoenix Suns, teams that have a lot of vets. Clippers, that's another team that, they have the best chance over a team like the Memphis Grizzlies or something like that, because they really kind of in some ways don't know what the fuck they're doing. The same thing with Sacramento, the same thing with Cleveland. These teams don't know what they're doing in the playoffs. They're young, and they I don't think they have as much legs as some of these older teams with vets. And that's where GMs and people that make these teams in the NBA need to think about. You're going to have a balance of vet in there to really guide the young talent. And if you don't, it's not going to be good. Let's see. All right, Mike's saying the dunks were sweet. Not going to lie. That one by Scotty, that 360 by Scotty was sick as fuck. I talked to Paul B about getting this dunk highlight thing together. Well, we can just watch the highlights from this last game to get a lot of the good dunk highlights. This whole entire season was jam-packed with amazing dunk highlights. If there's one really good thing about this season is we saw some of the most amazing dunks in the season by Raptors. Whether it's Chris Boucher's just inside the free throw line dunk, the 360s that Scotty's been doing recently. Precious was joking that he keeps doing the 360. That's going to become his signature slam. And he might be right. And Scott, if you keep doing the 360, that may become your signature if you're not careful. G saying Banton is going to be so good. I just get that sense. With some extra muscle, his length and speed will be a problem for teams. I like this. I like this prediction, and I don't see why it couldn't come true. I think this is right. I mean, he already looks a little bit more muscular. If you can tell around his midsection and his thighs, around there's more weight around that part of his body than there was when we drafted him as a rookie out of Rexdale. The young man is putting on some weight in different places on him, maybe not all in the arms, but on other parts of his body, like his legs look stronger, which is really, really good. He needs as much strength. There's certain Raptors that just need more beef on them. And Delano and Koloko are two of them. That's for sure. Shane Waters is saying, gee, I love the way Banton slashes for offensive boards. Yeah, and I love the way he finishes with people around him in traffic. He is so good at finishing with people right breathing down his necks. They could even be on him. He's so good at finishing through contact. And because, like I said, he has this extension to his arm that he can go just an extra few inches beyond the defense, that he can lay it in like really quick and fast. That is one of his advantages that he uses so well. Like right away, he used this very, very, very well right away when he came in. And it is really, really good. We saw it again yesterday where he's attacking the rim and he's got like two defenders next to him. But like I said, he just extends his arm a little bit, a long, long arm like mine. And it's like it goes just beyond the reach of the defender. And that I love that kind of stuff by Delano. I really, really do. And I also do like how he's getting on the boards. But look at how many assists he got for the time he was out there. He was only out there 19 minutes. He got the most assists out of any of the Raptors yesterday, 7 assists. So that's a point guard too. Let's see. Monique is here. Good to see Raptors superfan Monique Lawrence hanging out in the Raptors Tonight chat last night, and also being at the game, getting the shout out from Eric Smith. I saw that, Monique, that he posted a tweet yesterday about hanging out with you at the game and putting you on blast once again. That's so awesome to see. Eric Smith celebrating super fan Monique Lawrence after the game in a tweet. You deserve it, Monique. You should be put on blast for sure. She's saying, good morning, everyone. Enjoyed myself, of course. Of course you did. That's your home. That's your habitat. That is where the superfan Monique Lawrence belongs, and that is in the Scotiabank Arena amongst all of her best friends. The 18,000 or so best friends that come to the game. Those are her. That's her place. That is her place. Okay. Hello, bench, 3 stars, Gary, Delano, and Ron. But seriously, everyone, this is fun because between you, Nako, and I, we've all picked different kind of people for the game last night. You're picking Ron. That's fantastic. Ron did really do a good job getting in there and showing just good, solid stuff, all around stuff. It's not just stuff on offense, but he's doing good stuff like rebounding and hustling and just being really active. I like that part of Ron Harper's game that he's a get after it kind of guy. And in some ways, he's a glue guy. He can do a lot of different things, whether it's hit threes, rebound, steal the ball, block shots, all that stuff. And I just love seeing him out there and him getting a little bit more burn. This is the most he got to play all season. And of course, it's the last day of the season. And that kind of thing always kind of happens around now. But I think it portends and it kind of gives us a preview of maybe him getting developed even further and having really good things for the Raptors down the road. So it was really nice to see Ron out there for sure. Cool Cat saying one of my favorite moves of Flynn is when he spin bounces the wall to come back to him and shoot. Slick way to evade his opponent. Yeah, he has a lot of little tricks, like baller tricks and one tricks that he does. Like in some ways, he's an and one kind of guy, like the professor. The professor. You guys remember the professor? Super dribbles and hezzy dribbles and all that kind of stuff. He has a bunch of things in his bag of tricks, and we just don't get to see it enough. In some ways, he really isn't like a good backup point guard. He's a great backup shooting guard. And that's part of the reason why. I mean, in some ways, his player profile of how he plays doesn't totally fit the NBA. In some ways, he would have fit like older eras, but now it's kind of like the game has gone past a player with his kind of like characteristics, and I think that's part of the reason why we struggle to get him into our rotation and get him regularly in there for naturally. That it's just really hard to. Nick did say really nice things about Malachi after the game, saying that he really was proud of him and he did get some good time this year in the rotation. A good chunk of the season he was in the rotation and playing regular minutes, and that was really good. But that's how it goes. Sometimes in parts of the season you get to play a lot, and then you won't get to play a whole lot if you're fringe rotation, kind of not rotation. But yeah, I was really happy with Flynn yesterday, and like I said, he's showing development and like benchmarks of things that he is doing that we don't get to see every game because he just doesn't play. But he is developing it behind the scenes. We can see it. David's saying, how did I know Ron was going to get a star of the game from you, Mo? He deserves it. Why not give him a star? My 3 stars, once again, are Gary, Precious, and Malachi. 3 starters. Jimmy's here. Good to see the Pope of Positivity. Jimmy Pope, always good to see him. G saying, Shane Waters, yes, he is fluid too. I can't wait to watch him develop. Ron is a hustler too and was happy for Flynn and Precious. He's a great dude. Like I can tell, like, man, his dad is such a pro. And his dad is such a great pro in all kinds of different ways. And Ron's just got it right. He's got it right. And he's going to be fine. Like he's going to get this together and he's going to have a good NBA career. It's just it's starting out the way it is. But he knows as an undrafted player that, going through the Raptors to get to your career, like Fred VanVleet did, is very much a path. And I think he's going to get that path with us. It's just he's got to keep working and developing and progressing. And this summer in Summer League, for him and Koloko and Delano, people like that, it's going to be very important for them to continue to show their progression and getting better and better as a player. Let's see. Guardian saying, bring on those Bulls. I want to see 48 minutes of lockdown D. A new season is in front of us. Let's keep it rolling. Yeah, let us keep it rolling. For sure. That's what they kept saying. It's all wiped clean. It's a new season, and this is what you got to deal with now, Raptors. One and done against the Bulls. And you have to take that very, very seriously. It's like you're playing there's no tomorrow. You have to make sure you win. And that's the thing that scares me about this situation. The Bulls have been not totally capable at times also this season. In fact, we mirror each other in a lot of the same kind of problems as far as being ineffective on defense all of a sudden, or just having really bad like offensive spells where we just can't get things going. Well, in some ways, they are very similar to us in those ways. But we really do, like, in some ways, they're way more vet than us. And that is an edge that they'll have, is that they're a way more veteran, experienced team than us in some ways. This is going to be a battle. They got to take this really damn seriously. Seriously, Raptors. You cannot take this lightly. You cannot come in nonchalant. You need to come in like set up. You guys need to be setting yourself up right now in the days ahead of this, and the right mindset that this is now or never. This is do or die. And you can't have any like half-ass come into the game, start the game flat kind of shit like you've done most of the season. You're going to have to come out running and get that advantage right away, because that is all so important. Every single one of the 48 minutes that are played on Wednesday against the Chicago Bulls in the Scotiabank Arena are going to be so crucial to y'all winning. So you need to win every single second, every single minute of the game, every single quarter, both halves. You got to win them all. Win them all, Raptors. You got to do it. All right, let's see. Cool Cat saying, I want Ron Harper Jr., Banton, Koloko, Flynn to make the squad next year. Enjoyed the Dunkathon. Fun game. Fans have had a blast. Cool Cat was at the game too, also, I believe. And yeah, it was a fun atmosphere and a great way to send the season off at home with the fans. Fan appreciation is always a fun game to go to because they just spoil you with gifts and all kinds of things. Tickets, jerseys, shoe drops from the ceiling. There's all kinds of great stuff going on at those fan appreciation games for sure. Monique is saying, as I said yesterday, how confident are you and Gary in the play-in in the playoffs? Now, Monique, you said something to me in the chat. It was like, what do I think about that? Now, I've not had, it's not that I don't have confidence in Gary. My problem is that he takes time to get his rhythm back. And that my issue was that it took too long for, we needed him for the Boston series. And that I'd much rather he had returned during the Charlotte series and had his 0 for games against the Hornets and then was ready for the Celtics games and actually could have helped us win one of the 2 games in Boston. That I didn't like him coming in for his first game back against Boston and throwing up an 0 for on Wednesday. That really hurt us. If he had been playing 1 or 2 of the games against the Hornets before that, he would have been ready. He would have played like he did yesterday against Boston in the first game on Wednesday. And that's why I was upset with him coming back so late, because I know with him personally, he has to take like 2 or 3 games to get his rhythm back. And fortunately, he found his rhythm back on his 3rd game back yesterday. And yeah, no, I have full confidence in him now that he's got his rhythm back. It's just that I don't like his timing of when he came back. It really hurt us against Boston. We needed him back sooner and coming back and getting his shot back on against the Hornets and not the Celtics. That's what I meant when I was anything that I was saying about Gary. Now, if you listen, I didn't know if he was going to show up or not. I mean, it's so cloudy and unclear about his injury and how severe it was. It seemed like he was just ducking playing for the rest of the year. And that in some ways, maybe he won't even show up and try and play at the end of the year. Well, he did. And I'm glad, because we're going to need him in this week, in this play-in tournament, that we very much do need him. So it wasn't a diss on him or anything. It's just I have no idea. He's clutch. And we don't know what kind of bullshit they're going to try and do with him on his way out, or if he's what he's doing, or whether he's staying or not. We don't know any of that. He's a question mark. And that's why I didn't know what to expect from him. Shere Khan's here. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. Positive end to the mid-type season. Yes, this concludes our 2-year development cycle. I don't know if that's true. Real expectations start next year with a good draft pick to bolster our bench. Should be competitive training camp. Yes, and yes. Shere Khan in the Raptors tonight, asking his questions. Good to see you there, my good friend Shere Khan. I wish I could say this ends our 2-year development cycle, but that's not how it works. We're probably going to be another development year mixed with maybe winning next year. We should win more, but we could probably still say we're in development. I mean, I think every team's really in development until you win the championship. It's just different levels of development. So we're definitely not concluding our 2-year development cycle. We probably have a 3 or 4 year development cycle that we're in. and we're just in the middle of it. Real expectations start next year. Yeah, I want them to start better. And the thing is, it's about our success. We could have these expectations last year, this whole season, but we didn't fulfill them. We had to lower our expectations at different times during the season. When we came in, we had great expectations as far as win 10 games in a row, do this, have a very high record, all this kind of stuff. But we had to kind of lower our expectations as the season went on and kind of like meet those instead. But next year, yeah, I'd like to have really high expectations once again. And hopefully we are successful and we meet a lot of them so that we can have high expectations for things that they can accomplish and achieve on the court against really good teams. This year we had to temper our expectations for various reasons, and it sucks. But I'm all about that. And this summer, hopefully we have a good off season and we have a very good collective group coming in with some really good energy and really good positivity and enthusiasm coming up this season. Yeah. David's saying, thought this year we had 20 guys we wanted to keep, kept the 17 we could. And for the next 8 months, I hear about how we need more depth. We need our basketball players making millions and millions of dollars a year to put the ball in the net and stop botching. I don't know if he means bitching or botching. All right, listen, I'm going to blame Nick right here, David. I'm not going to blame anything other than Nick. We have 17 players on this roster. There's a lot of different guys that we could use. And he just doesn't choose to use them. He just overdoes it with six guys. And I'm sick of it. This is one of the biggest reasons why I want him to go, is because I want a 10-man rotation. I want 12 guys that are ready to bust out at any given moment. And they're absolutely going to be good in whatever role they do. I want a bench that knows their roles and has roles defined and actually has time to do them successfully so they build confidence and get on the court. These are things that Nick Nurse just doesn't do with his coaching philosophy. And that is why we have no depth. It's Nick's fault. He doesn't play them and develop them into usable players. And that is the problem we have with all that right there. There you go, David. Scapegoating Nick once again. Smooth saying, DeMar was saying he expects Toronto to throw everything at him to stop him from beating them. Must watch TV for sure. The drama, the storylines of it are just incredible. I mean, seriously. Think about his exit from how he left Toronto and how emotional this was for him. We put him in a depressive tailspin, and that sucks. I hate that because I love DeMar, and I hated how we treated him that summer. And in some ways, I am on his side. Like, seriously, if we're going to get put out on Wednesday by anybody, I'm glad it's him because in some ways it's healing for him, and in some ways we deserve it. And I wouldn't be upset. Like, if we lose on Wednesday to DeMar and the Bulls, I will be like, yep, we're just getting what we deserve. And much how like Casey had his revenge for a few years, DeMar still's got to get his revenge on us. And if this helps him in a therapeutic way, I'm all about it. Some people were funny in the comments below DeMar's interview that we're talking about right now, Smooth and I, is Raptors fans were going in there in the comments and saying, please just put us out of our misery. Put us out, DeMar. These are Raptors fans telling DeMar DeRozan to come to our building on Wednesday. Just put us out of our misery. This is where we're at with how we feel about things that are going at the end of the season. That a lot of our fans are just ready to tap out and don't even want to go any further. They're just sick of it, and they would just want to be done with the season. And you know what? Please, Dr. DeMar DeRozan, do the Dr. Kevorkian to us in some ways, is what they're saying. And so I don't want to. I want to beat DeMar. I do want to beat DeMar. But I'm kind of putting it both ways so that I'll be happy no matter the outcome. If we win, hell yeah, I'm happy because I'm the Raptors freak and I want the Raptors to win. But if we lose, then so be it. It is as it shall be. The basketball gods decided that DeMar DeRozan should get revenge for how we traded him away for a championship. And either way, that's how you make a no-lose scenario. Make it in your head how you can be okay with it losing or winning. Well, obviously, we're going to be happy if we win and we get another playing game on Friday night. But if we don't, at least it was to DeMar, and hopefully that helps heal some of the pain that he had from the way the franchise treated him. And I'm all about that. So Cool Cat saying, I love the commitment to highest ambition. Love our fans every time he touches the ball. The North remembers. Yes, to highest ambition, of course, Goran. It's just how it is. There's going to be other players like that in the history of the Raptors that you just boo. You boo Vince. You boo Tracy. There were people like that already that we booed in the past. It's just Goran's a real easy one to boo, and there's no problem with it. G saying, I love the booing. It is fun, and you heard it on the broadcast yesterday. In some ways, it makes the Milwaukee Bucks or whichever team that is employing Goran at that time, the Bulls or the Nets, have to think twice about even bringing him out there. Because in some ways, Goran Dragic is something that will stir up our crowd and get them involved in the game and making noise. It's like the game could be very quiet in there, and you put him in there, and it wakes our crowd up. And in that way, I really love it. Because like Nab Bhatia said during the game, get loud, everyone. They got him on the microphone and said, Nab, do you have a message for everybody? He said, get loud, get as loud as possible. And that's what I would say too if I was Nab Bhatia. That we want our crowd to be rowdy and loud all the time. It really does like get under the skin. Like it's got to bug Goran to a degree. Why would he go shh to people and like react to it? Like he shot a lot of shots yesterday and made them in defiance of us booing him. He was 7 of 12. That's really good shooting. 14 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. He missed both his threes. But still, that kind of like was making him want to like, all right, well, I'll make this little short shot in the lane and shut y'all up. Kind of, no, we're going to keep doing it. Boo, boo. We don't care if you're making shots. Boo. It's awesome. It's so good. Monique is saying, great shout out in yesterday's Raptors tonight. Yeah, or day. We don't know when it was. It was the time of day was the afternoon. So it was Raptors afternoon. I don't know. But yeah, shout out to everybody. Shere Khan, Monique, myself on there, JYD and Alvin and Paul and Sherman and Randy. Yes. Cowboys here. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. I love the booing. Let's go, Raptors. That was a good game all around. Yeah, it was just a good feeling game. Thank you, Milwaukee, for doing what you did. We needed it. Another thing about it that's really important is we stopped the sweep. Milwaukee would have swept us for the season if we didn't get the win yesterday. I know it's a cheap way to stop the sweep, but it still stops the sweep. We got swept by the Celtics this year. We got swept by the Brooklyn Nets this year. And we didn't want to get swept by everybody this year. So we had to defeat the Milwaukee Bucks at least once, and we took care of that yesterday. That was important for that also. I don't like getting swept by teams for the whole entire season. That's why those Boston games pissed me off so bad, the last 2 games in Boston, because I did not want to get swept by the Celtics this year, and we did. So we didn't get swept by the Bucks, though. Thank goodness. MSJ saying, Goran had a rival in Lowry. He always played well versus us in years past. He is unlikable. Then he pulled the higher aspirations. Yeah, long history of hate. Laugh out loud. All as a fan, of course. Booing is fine. That's right. This is just healthy. This is sports kind of stuff. There's villains on other teams. Kyle Lowry is a villain to a lot of other teams. Fred VanVleet is a villain to a lot of other teams. And that's part of the reason why people hate Fred so much is because they hate him from the other side. And then they try and influence people in our fan nation to hate him also because they want to pry him out in some ways. Mike's saying OG Steals champion 2022-2023. Congratulations. OG has taken a step on defense with less fouling and more steals. Yeah, he's been fantastic with the steals and stuff. Absolutely fantastic. You go, OG, and you need some recognition for your defensive prowess this offseason. They need to give you a defensive team award. You need to be on that defensive team. Shane Waters is saying, and they're politicking for it. Everybody's starting to build up, talking about him a little bit more. And people are like, yeah, we know because we've seen this all for a while. We know how good he is. He stops Luka. He stops Joel. He stops every big name in the league, Giannis, LeBron. He guards all of those guys, and he has good success. So there's a lot of good cases for why OG should be a defensive player of the year or a defensive player on the team, all defensive team. So really, really good. Shane saying Ron's game is definitely different from his dad's. And the fact he has the same mentality as his father makes me excited to see how we develop him. Yeah. Ron is not like his dad. His dad was a slasher scorer, shooting guard who shot a lot. And also before he came to the Bulls, he was more of a scorer with the Cavs. And he was very much a 20-point scorer. And some people called him poor man's Michael Jordan because he was similar to Michael Jordan. They're the same height, same kind of body. And, he did score like Jordan did earlier in his career. But then, of course, he joined up with the Bulls and he became more of a defensive guard and more of kind of like he started and he was kind of like the point guard, but not really. It was a weird situation with him and Jordan in the backcourt, Harper and Jordan, because he wasn't really depended on for certain things other than being a very solid vet and playing very well defensively. He could get baskets here and there, but it was definitely nothing like how he was depended on in Cleveland when he was a Cavalier. He was definitely their main guy, then scoring a lot in the 80s when he was on the Cavs. Now, Ron is a glue guy. He's very much like a mini Scotty. They have a lot of the same kind of attributes. It's just that Ron's smaller than Scotty. And in some ways, that's the player that he's kind of like the most on the Raptors is Scotty Barnes. It's just that he's a couple inches shorter than him. He has a very wide, big frame that he uses to bully people around down in the lane. And that's how he gets rebounds. And that's how he kind of makes room for shots close to the basket. And those kind of things are very attractive. You got a high IQ, a great pedigree, and then you just have a good kid or with a good head on his shoulders with the right attitude for how to go about being an NBA pro because it's in his lineage. So there's a lot to like about Ron, and we'll just have to see how he develops. He's not going to be like a David Johnson or a Justin Champagnie. This guy's going to catch on, and he's going to be somebody that's going to be very useful for us because in some ways, he's kind of like he makes to order what we want. Like if we really need certain things on the court, well, he has the ability to do most things on a basketball court, and we could actually very tailor make what we want specifically for him to do. Those kind of players are valuable to coaches, so that's why he probably will have a career. Wayne saying, overall great day yesterday. Bench looked good against the Bucks bench. My view is that Flynn has kept ready despite Nick Nurse's lack of development. Raptors tonight was awesome with Raptor Freaks contributions. Yeah, you guys are happy to see me mention on there and get my comment read. That's awesome. I agree with this. Flynn's been the ultimate professional in the face of not getting to play a whole lot. He's definitely progressed and learned behind the scenes. He's definitely stayed dialed in. He's definitely not like aloof or like kind of like, well, I'm not playing. Why should I care? No, he's caring and he's listening to Fred. He's learning as much as possible from everything. And he is showing signs that he is a much more savvy veteran guard after his third year in the league after the game yesterday. That's what that told me about what I saw from Flynn yesterday, is that he's more savvy as a vet, as a third year vet now. And that's good that he's showed progress, even if we haven't seen it on the court. Let's see. Mike saying Fred VanVleet came third in steals. Banton was looking way more confident and looking dynamic and fast. He's still an interesting prospect. He's going to be on the team next year. So a couple of guys have 905 time together. It's going to be interesting to see this whole additional two-way. There's 3 two-ways now. That this summer we're going to be able to have 3 two-way players, and the rosters are expanded to 18, y'all. So there's going to be 18 players on the Raptors next year. We're increasing it from 17 to 18. This is all part of the new CBA. A third two-way player, and then also an 18th spot. So there will be 18 Raptors next season. So when we're figuring out the training camp battle and who's going to make the team and all this kind of stuff, we're going to have to figure out where people like Joe Wieskamp, Gabe Brown, Ron Harper Jr. all fit in with our plans for the future. It could be very interesting this year, especially with the extra spot opening up this year. G saying Gary was so happy yesterday. Haven't seen him that animated. Yeah, they showed him on the bench at one point with Will Barton joking around, and he was laughing and just really had a really nice smile on his face and feeling real good. And I love seeing that too, because I know that this season's been up and down for him in a lot of different ways, whether it's with injuries, whether it's with being a starter or not a starter. He's just been an ultimate pro this whole time in a lot of ways. Now, as far as I can tell, he has. I just want him to do well, and I don't know what's going to happen this offseason. It's really up in the air. We'll have to see. In some ways, I really would like to retain Gary, but in some ways, it's not very high on my priority list also. But it would be nice to keep him around, obviously, because he does fit, and there's a lot of things that he does that we really need more of on our team. And it's kind of scary to let somebody like that go when you know you need more of that. Let's see. Let's keep going with the comments today. Good to see so many names in here filling up the hoop, filling it up. All right, let's keep going with what y'all are saying. All right, where am I? Okay, David Saborn. Fred shot 39% from the field this season. Gary needs to play more minutes. We need a bucket getter. And then unfortunate that this year his career low from three. Bad timing for a contract renewal. Orlando will probably give him that bag after all. You're talking about are you talking about Fred or Gary in the second part, David? I'm not totally sure. All right, always use proper nouns just in case, because you mentioned two people and then you make another statement. I'm not sure if you mean Fred or Gary. I'm going to guess you mean Gary. I don't know. Either way, these guys will be attractive for other teams, but I really want to keep Fred. He is a priority. As much as I said Gary is not as much of a priority, Fred is a priority to me. That I just think that it's really dumb if we get rid of Fred. There's so many different reasons why we do not want to get rid of Fred. And Fred is somebody that is just it's just mandatory. I'm sorry. As far as a Raptor freak says, Fred VanVleet needs to stay in Toronto. If anything, just to spite all of his haters and make them fucking have even more hate and stuff like that. In some ways, that's one of the reasons. But it's also because he's a loyal and true Raptor. And I don't want to do something like we did to Demar to Fred. I really, really don't want to, especially with his young family and all this kind of stuff. And I know he's willing to take less money to stay here rather than move. So I'd much rather take care of Fred as the top priority this summer for sure. Wayne's saying it's just verbiage, but Precious saying it's a new season now is the right mindset. Yes, I do like that. His mental acumen is improving, and I wish for him to just put in the work. Precious is just cool, dude. Like, in some ways, he's a carefree guy. Like, he doesn't, like, in some ways, I know that he doesn't get bogged down by some of the things that other players do in this league. Like, he has such a very good fortress up against self-doubt that he has a very confident thing about his ability and his ceiling and where he can go. There's always been that way. Since he came in, he said, I don't really look at any limitations than what's possible for me. Like, that's not even how I look at the world. My worldview is not have any limitations to it. And in some ways, that's why he's the way he is. And in some ways, he's not, doesn't doubt himself. He knows he belongs. And he knows that he's really, really good in certain ways. And in some ways, when you can bypass any of that doubt or like worry that you have, like if you're maybe an imposter syndrome, that you can really, if you can avoid all that, wow, it's really hard because it's a tough industry to be in, and he doesn't second guess it. In fact, he was funny. Like after the game, he's talking about, yeah, this is a job. Then somebody was saying, oh, you play a hobby for a job. He's like, no, this is a job. But then he says immediately afterwards, it is a hobby that I do as a job. It's so funny when you say, this is a lifestyle. And then what was the other thing? This is entertainment. He was really funny in his interview after the game. Watch Precious's interview after the game yesterday. And you get his whole vibe. He's just a cool dude. And I think you're right. His mental acumen is really strong. And he's exactly where he needs to be. And a lot of it's really positive, good vibes. Just in general, Precious is enjoying his best life. Let's just put it that way. The dude's a fashion plate. The guy is just a badass, and he's in the NBA. He's living his best life. Evelyn's here. Good to see Granny Evelyn. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. Happy to see Ron Harper Jr. playing his best last night. Philippines. That's right. That's right. Ron Harper Jr. represent the Philippines with your Filipino mama, and just kick some butt out there, Ron. Make everybody really proud. And we want to see you more and more on the Raptors, playing more and more games for us in the years to come, Ron. So keep developing and progressing and playing really excellent basketball. So our coach has to play you. That's what we want to see, Ron. Monica's saying Precious back in form. Totally got to love to see it. Yeah, him getting a double-double is a real good signifier. That since Jakob showed up, there hasn't been a whole lot of room up there to get those double-doubles for Precious like he was at the beginning of the season. And, him getting one again last night is really good. He's such a good rebounder. I love his defensive rebounding. Like, he really is ferocious. Like, he seeks it. He sees it, and he goes and he gets it. And he takes it down. Like, that's one thing that I really love about this Raptors team this season is their ferocity about going and taking rebounds. Like, two hands from up there in the traffic with other guys near him, fighting and getting the rebound from them. Whether it's Scotty, Precious, Chris Boucher, those guys are amazing rebounders, and they've attacked getting rebounds. And Jakob too. Koloko's gotten better and better at it. He could be better at rebounds. But that's what I'm saying. We have aggressive rebounders, and I love that. And in some ways, Precious is like the ringleader of those aggressive rebounders. Well, maybe Chris. It's them together as a team. They're very aggressive rebounders, and I like that. I like that so much. Let's see. Shir Khan saying in a lot of ways, our slow pace and low percentage may not be a detriment because of our solid defense. I predict a lot of low scoring games in the postseason. I'm cautiously optimistic of our chances. Good vibes. Shir Khan, keep the good vibes going. Rookie of the year. Raptor Freak, Rookie of the Year. Shir Khan, keep those good vibes going. Seriously, keep them going. Because you know what? You're right. Historically, this is exactly how the playoffs, they go to a slower speed, a more physical speed, a more tough to do anything on the court kind of speed. And that's why we have to do that and match that. And in some ways, that does really benefit our style of play. In some ways, we really are more of a playoff team than a regular season team. Back when we had DeMar and Kyle, we were a regular season team. We'd have really good regular seasons. And then in the playoffs, we struggle. Well, this is kind of different. We seem like we struggle during the regular season, but in some ways, the type of play for the playoffs is very conducive to our style. And that this may actually be very true. What Shir Khan's saying is that we flourish in that kind of style instead of that wide open 3-point crazy offensive biased regular season this year. Maybe that switches back and the defensive part of the season is the postseason, and that we get all the merits of our makeup from that in that period of time. That would be awesome. I'd be all about that for sure. Fiercely saying, Lex, NBA highlight one of Scotty's dunks yesterday on Instagram and saw P Skills liked it. That's what I'm saying. These dudes are all woo woo. They're cool. They're cool. In some ways, I'm not even sure if it's a problem between the players. It may just be all the problems have to do with Nick Nurse. I mean, let's just blame him. Maybe there isn't a problem player on the team. That it really is the confusion and messed upness of Nick Nurse. And maybe in some ways, the way Nick Nurse is like laid it out for them to succeed and puts them at odds against each other in ways that aren't good. It could be that Nick has really been doing a lot of toxic shit on the down low with our team that we didn't even realize. And that's part of why we've had different issues. That in some ways, I don't trust Nick. That I feel like in some ways he's been causing problems and toxicness on our team, and maybe intentionally for really bad, fucked up reasons. Like, but we can't detect it totally in some ways because it's all behind the scenes, and it may be stuff that he's saying in practice. It could be the way he threw like people like Precious under the bus this season in interviews. There's different things that he's done this year that have been really kind of like anti-Raptors for the team. And whether it's not playing guys and haves and have-nots on our team, that's not good when you have haves and have-nots and guys that just have no chance because they're just not people that are anointed by Nick as being able to come in. I know they can't trust them. They don't play well enough. Bullshit. You fucking figure out how you can trust them and play them just a little bit where you can trust them. I don't know. We got to figure it out this summer. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with Masai in the front office. Shane saying Precious was the most disappointing player to me this season. He's back to where he was at the end of last year now. Okay, good. Well, at least he's at now. I wouldn't say that he's the most disappointing. He's had a very rocky season also. He had that very serious injury. He missed the most games in his whole entire career at any point, not even in his professional career, even in high school and college this last fall. That injury that took him out for like the good part of the first half of the season really was the longest time he'd ever sat like that. And that was really kind of like, it took him a little bit to get back from it. And I think that's part of why it could have been a little disappointing. It was really the injury. The injury took him out right in the middle. And in some ways, then Jakob showed up, and that kind of displaced him from some of his duties that he had to handle for sure, because we had no center. And that's part of it also. So there's a couple of things that were factors for why Precious's season may not feel as good as it was last year. But that what you just said at the end, Shane's exactly right. He's at the right place now, right at the end of the season. And that is what matters the most. That is a rocky path this whole season for him with an injury and then a new center coming in and kind of eating up some of his responsibilities. But he's in a good place right now and playing at a high level. And that's all that we can ask for going into the play-in. So David's saying a new face coaching the team would be huge. Yeah, and it's looking like that's very much what's going to happen, David. It's looking like it. This is like really weird. The train started moving in that direction, whether Nick likes it or not at this point. In some ways, if this was a strategic way to negotiate with the Raptors front office for his next extension or his next coaching contract, that you probably did not do yourself any service on this. In fact, you may have really like put you more on the outs and not being able to get back to getting somewhere in the good place with Masai. So I don't know what's going to happen. In fact, I'm just going to wait and see as far as what's happening with Nick. Leslie's saying, good morning. I hope that mentally having some home court advantage will not be a disadvantage for us. We have to be ready to fight. It's definitely going to be an advantage for us. We shoot so much better in Scotiabank Arena than other arenas. We just play way better. Our crowd is going to be so hyped and will be a factor. The referees will give us better calls here in Toronto. So it's definitely a good factor. It's way better that we're playing this game on Wednesday in Toronto than in Chicago. The home court advantage is going to very much help us, and maybe the reason why we beat the Bulls. I have less faith in us on the Friday game if we get past the Wednesday game, just because it is on the road. And we can see how we performed on the road versus home. So yeah, it's definitely home court is going to be not going to be a disadvantage for us. That's for sure, Leslie. You're right. David's saying, I'm sure Udoka is already the pick. Can we package Nick and Fred? Is that a thing? All right, stop trying to throw Fred in there. Seriously, David. Fred's not going anywhere. Fred's staying here. Udoka, I don't even know if that's for sure. See, this is the thing. This is going to be a competitive market to try and get coaches. And we may not be the only team that's trying to get Udoka. It could be very well that like Houston's also looking at Udoka right now. The Lakers will kick Ham out as soon as if they get eliminated in the play-in and they don't even make a playoff spot, they're going to fire Darvin Ham and they're going to very seriously want to get M.A. Udoka themselves. So there's going to be a little bit of a coaching carousel this summer. And we're going to have to see who's available and where, and what Masai is going to do. It could be that we do hold Pat and Nick and we just fix the rift and get things like healed and solved up and hopefully things are okay. And we do continue with him. I don't know for sure if Nick's gone. I'm starting to read the writing on the wall and I think he is, but he may not be. And we need to be ready that he may still be our coach next year, even though. So I'm ready for whatever's going to happen. And just being, I don't know exactly how it's going to go. Let's stop going after Fred. Seriously, I'm overprotecting Fred right now. I don't want any of y'all talking shit about Fred right now. We want Fred to stay. He's a hero. We need to be celebrating and respecting Fred VanVleet instead of sullying him, disrespecting him, and saying that he's worthless and that he is dispensable, because he's not. He's not dispensable. Trust me. Wayne's saying, I think our guys are appreciative that they managed to play just good enough to reach the play-in. And now it's a brand new opportunity for redemption. Teams to play have not overwhelmed us. We're ready. Yeah. I mean, we have a good matchup against all the other playing teams, even Miami. But I just don't like that X factor of Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler in a playoff setting as far as things. We know what Kyle Lowry does to do anything to win in these kind of settings. We know because he was our dude that did it for us. And that's why we don't necessarily want to face him. Now, is age going to catch up to these guys? And they won't be as effective in completing the task in certain ways? Maybe that's why you want to play the Heat, because they've aged out and they're not actually competitive anymore. And that could be true. They are small. I don't know. I'd much rather not play them on paper, just because I look at their team and the experience with all those guys, Love, Jimmy, Bam. Yeah, that's too much of a stacked veteran grizzled team. And that Atlanta has a lot of flaws in their team in some ways. And that is probably who we'd rather face on Friday if we are getting to Friday, for sure. Mike's saying, not gonna lie, I don't see both going at the same time. We can't just start a brand new system from scratch without the system of our best adapter. That wouldn't be successful from a winning standpoint, in my opinion. And I completely agree with Mike on this. That's what I'm saying. It's one thing to get rid of your coach, but you got to keep some of the culture and you got to keep some of the steadiness. And that means you got to keep steady, keep Freddie. And that's what I'm saying. We can't throw everybody out all at once. It may be too much of a shock to the system, and we may regress way further than you think just by doing that. So it's really, you got to be careful about it. It's almost like diffusing a bomb. You got to pick the right wire and make sure you cut the right color wire. If you cut too many wires, well, you may make the bomb go off anyway. So if we want to diffuse this bomb, we got to pick the exact right color wire to cut and get out of here so that the bomb won't go off. And if you cut too many wires, that bomb may go off still. And that's what we don't want. And I think Mike's right. You don't want to do too much in the change. You need to keep some chemistry, or not chemistry, continuity from the times before. And if you get rid of your coach and your leader, captain, point guard, that may be too much. Too much change too quick. Now, if it continues to be bad, we get rid of Nick this summer and it continues to get bad. And then next summer, we may be making the next change after another season of seeing how it went. If it didn't go well, then you make another big change the next summer. That's really how you should do it with teams. You don't want to overcorrect and make too many changes all at once, because you may have made too many changes, just a couple more changes over what you should have actually did. And it's much better to do it very methodically and not all at once. It's way better to do it that way. Trust me. Like even the Nets, if they could have it back the way they could at this past season, maybe they would have kept one of their big names still if they could have. And they, instead of making a wholesale change like that, if they could have still kept Kevin, I'll bet you they would have. And it would have been easier for them to weather changes from it all. But now they had to get rid of all of them. You know, it could have been they were better with Kevin Durant still. And, you know, I don't know. They wouldn't have Bridges, though. That's the big difference. Let's see. MSJ saying a Nick Nurse departure seems needed in terms of player development. And he's been giving me Goran Dragic vibes of late anyway. The look on his face, seriously, it's real. You know, Nick does look a little psycho right now. Like in his press conferences, he looks desperate. He has beady eyes, and he looks a little like crazy, like a little bit. He does look a little bit tense and a little bit crazy these days with his beady little eyes and crazy like expressions. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting weird vibes from him too. Like he's definitely in a really bad, weird place right now. And I hate it for him because I really do love him and I really care about him. But I just wish he hadn't done this. Like, fuck, why did you cause this problem for yourself, Nick? Seriously, maybe you'll write a book someday and you'll talk about this whole situation and why it went down this way, and it'll clear things up for us. Or just like give us some sort of idea why fucking things happen this way this season with you. Because, man, I don't want to think that it's just really bad advice from Clutch that caused this whole problem for you and this thing. Why the fuck did you listen to Clutch, bro? David's saying the system and the adapter are broken. I think we do just fine putting 5 guys on the court and tell them to go play. The system is, I don't know. We still are trying to use it and trying to still win. Let's see if we can be successful in the playoff setting, like Shere Khan has described, the slower, more plodding, defensive-oriented playoffs. Let's see if the system still works in that setting. Maybe it doesn't work in the regular season crazy score as much as possible setting, but maybe it still works in the postseason where it matters the most. We'll have to see. Let's test it. Let's see what it is. Cowboys saying, I think we beat the Bulls, then we beat Miami, then the Bucks. Then who cares after that? See y'all the parade. Bradley. You go, Bradley. I love it. Shere Khan saying, I like the Clippers-Suns matchup. Big names going against each other. Golden State, Sacramento can be a quick one if Splash Brothers go off. Just waiting on the play-in results to see what fun matchups we get for our top seeds. You know, I think people are underestimating the Kings against the Warriors. I think the Warriors have been actually very mid this whole season. They're kind of cocky. They act like they don't need to do any work and that they can just show up at the end and just fucking win anyway just because of their pedigree and who they are in their past. In some ways, that's true. But in some ways, they may be a little too like casual about it. In fact, that was their downfall against us in 2019. You know, the audacity of Steve Kerr after the first game against us at Scotiabank Arena, the one that I went to, game 1 of the finals in 2019, he said after the game that we didn't really scout Toronto correctly with Marc Gasol on their team, that we hadn't seen them yet and we didn't really look at them. That's so cocky and arrogant. And that arrogance and cockiness will be the downfall of the Golden State Warriors this postseason. In fact, I think that they're going to get beat by Sacramento. I think that they're too cocky about this whole thing. They're the lower seed, first of all. And Sacramento's got one of the best home crowds in the league. You don't think that that crowd is going to go crazy for them in the postseason, to have postseason games in Sacramento after all this long time? You don't think that the Sacramento fan base is going to come correct and support De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and Kevin Huerter and them? They're going to be way more dangerous to the Warriors than they actually think. And I want the Warriors to get a little comeuppance and get a little reality check. They're so cocky and they think they can just walk in and win it at the last second as a mid-team this whole year and all the problems they've had. Yeah, watch. I want to see Sacramento upset your asses. because y'all are a little too cocky right now. And this is going to be an offensive series between Sacramento and Golden State. It's going to be very entertaining. There's going to be a lot of shooting and a lot of scoring. And it is going to be very fun. In some ways, the factor of Sabonis may be one of the biggest factors in this series because he is actually a pretty decent big man. And he could do some things against them. Now, Draymond against Sabonis, it'll be an interesting battle. But in some ways, I pick Sabonis in certain ways that he might be able to beat Draymond. Now, and then you go on the outside, it's going to be a shootout. Splash Brothers versus the Kings, great shooters on the outside themselves. And that could be very, very interesting in itself. So I'm not just going to slam dunk and say the Warriors are going to win. They're, in fact, the team that doesn't have the home court, and they're going to be having to play in Sacramento more, and they're going to be lighting that beam is what I'm saying. Yeah. Mike is saying, we will see. I'm ready to give credit to those who have been saying certain things, but I don't know what Masai, write the whole word. No means no. It doesn't mean no. Okay. I don't know what Masai will do, and no fan does. From my opinion, I don't know how major of a shuffle will happen. Well, there better be a fucking bit of a major shuffle. There has to be at least one major change. At least one major change. I'll be upset if he does just stand pat and everything is exactly the same going into the next season, because it'll just set us up for another season like this year if he does. We need to make one major change. There's absolutely a personality that needs to leave. Somebody's got to leave. There's some sort of personality. And I'm hoping it's just Nick, and then we'll be fine. Let's see. Trevor's saying, good morning. I like what we did yesterday. We win that game with the guys off the bench. Young guys coming up who can play. Yeah. It was good to see the young guys get in, get some minutes, and some rest for Fred, Pascal, and OG. Sheer Khan saying, we want to stay away from Miami for the second playing game. Atlanta are a dumpster fire this year, and egos are clashing. They got lucky this season to get the tie break. We have the matchup on them as per JYD. Yeah, that's what Jerome was saying yesterday in Raptors Tonight. He likes our chances against Atlanta and doesn't like our chances against Miami, and I totally agree with him. This is true. Atlanta's had a really weird season. In some ways, what the fuck? It's all comes down to, because they have exact same record as us. We're both 41-41 after the last day of the season, and they are above us in the standings. If the playoffs didn't have the play-in, we would be on the outside looking in with the same record as the 8th seed and not even having a chance in the off season. I mean, in the postseason. And that's the crazy thing. That is how important. When I said this earlier this season, when we play teams, the matchups and how the series go, whether we win season series against Eastern opponents, matter. And this year it mattered against the Hawks. It definitely mattered so much against the Hawks. The 3 games against the Hawks mattered so much. Halloween, we blew them out. We beat the shit out of them. I was at that game. And that was a glorious game where we won by like 40 points. Well, that was the only win we got against Atlanta. Then we lost one carelessly with a very bad play at the end. And some people are blaming Scotty missing a layup for part of the reason why we're in the 9th seed and not in the 8th seed. This is a huge factor. This really is too bad that just a little bit, couple plays really determined this much at the end of the season. And this is why Raptors, you guys need to really take care of season series against Eastern opponents. You need to win them, because this will matter at some point at the end of the season. And it did against Atlanta this year. It very much mattered that we lost 2 out of the 3 games against the Hawks this year. Very much mattered. Leslie's saying, Lex, sounds funny, but some of our closest games could have been won at the free throw line. Yeah, some of them, sure. Raps, no weight room next practice, just free throws and ice baths. Coach Leslie has prescribed this for you guys, Raptors. Is just get on those free throws and the ice baths, and don't do the weights. Yeah, I don't know. This is true. The free throw shooting this year overall was poor in a lot of cases. We could have tidied that up in some ways. Now, some of it is Pirtle showed up. Some of it is Siakam just not concentrating at the free throw line, and him getting such a high volume of free throws this whole season. He was really disappointing at the free throw line for me in general. There was some bad free throw shooting for our team, and it definitely hurt us at times. But I don't remember as many games as maybe even like the year before being determined that close, where I was like, man, the free throws really killed us tonight. They were a contributing factor in a lot of games for why we didn't win. but they weren't ultimately the most important factor usually. Sometimes it was maybe just missing field goals more than missing free throws. A lot of threes missed, a lot of field goals missed. But yeah, the free throws could help. And we've had better free throw shooting seasons than this year. That's for sure. Infamous is saying, morning, I really see potential in Banton. I do too. Infamous for sure. That guy and him being from our own city, that's what I'm saying. I was wondering in that Boston game on Friday night if he came out and scored like crazy like that because he had Toronto pride. He's like, he saw what was happening and the disrespect that Boston was putting on the Raptors. And maybe someone woke up in young Delano Banton from his days on the 45 Rexdale bus and being a Toronto Raptors fan and knowing Raptors culture and being from the city. And he had pride for our city. And he went out there and he said, no, it ain't going to be like this. And he tore it up. He kicked some ass and was like perfect from the field and scored 10 points in like no time at all, 4 minutes. In some ways, I thought about that with him on Friday, that maybe some of the other Raptors gave up and kind of rolled over and died in the middle of the game as far as like not caring or like playing hard. But Delano, when he came in garbage time, he showed that pride for the 416 in Toronto in his hometown. And I appreciate Delano doing that. Seriously, in that Boston game, he was the only one who stood up in some ways and put it really out there. He's like, no, it ain't going to be like that. And it's because I'm from the city, baby. That's right. Logical saying Banton definitely looks more purposeful in his movements. It's not just repeating actions, but actually reading the floor and attacking the openings. You can tell he's really starting to see things better. Yeah. This is something for all those young players. Scotty, too. They got to read the floor better and really understand what the best next move is as far as what they can do with their ability and picking apart what the defense is showing them. That this is something that as time goes on with Scotty, this is something they talked about yesterday, actually, in relation to somebody like Antetokounmpo, Giannis, that he wasn't at this point in his second year in his NBA career. Think about where Giannis's career path, how he progressed coming up in the league, and Scotty's ahead of him in some ways as far as the benchmarks and the milestones at this point after his second season. In some ways, his stats and his accumulation of total stats is way better than Giannis in his first 2 years. And that's a way that people can like look at Scott and say, well, the sky's the limit, is because in some ways, his progression of development and the way he's gone in his first 2 years is really on track with guys like Antetokounmpo in some ways. That he could blossom into a really good, like all-around player like Giannis in the next year or two and become like a real superstar in this league. That he's got the stats and he's showing the all-around ability and the acumen. This is what Scotty's on the path for right now. And I love seeing that. And I love what's coming up for sure. Race Mode's saying, Lex, are you related to Randy Urban? I am not related to Randy Urban, but that's what they were wondering. Like maybe, I mean, in some ways we're similar kind of people, I guess, but not really. He's younger than me, I think. I'm not sure. This is ambiguous about how old he is. I'm sure he's younger than 47. But no, I'm not related to Randy. Might be in some sort of weird genealogy way that I'm not aware of, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. Cool Cat's saying, shout out to Monique for being featured on Raptors' last regular season game. Did everybody else see it? No, I didn't see it. I saw her being like put on blast by Eric Smith on there, but they put her on blast on the broadcast or somewhere. Hey, that happens with her. That's just how it is. She's a super fan, just like Nav Badia. She is a celebrated super fan. We're all super fans. But in some ways, Monique is one that's very much in the public eye and somebody that is a Raptor celebrity. She really is. Like people come up to her at the games all the time and want to get their picture taken with her because they know who Superfan Mo is. And that is awesome. I love that she is a celebrity to a degree also. And I also really love and respect that she's with us here all the time with her presence. I really do really appreciate your time and spending it with us, Monique. I really do. Tom's saying 100%. Go, Mo, go. And Tom's also saying, let's do nothing but dunk the ball a bunch to start versus the Bulls. Well, that's always a good sound strategy, is take it down low instead of just unleashing a bunch of threes at the beginning of the game. Get an easy high percentage shot to uncork the game and get things going in the right direction, Raptors. That's what I want to see for sure. Wayne's saying our favorite blogger, Chev, has to eat some chow. He was boosting up Canadian Lloyd Wigginton from Bucks as being better than our point guards, so it was nice to see Malachi putting him on his ass. Lindell Wigginton is a fantastic young player from Halifax. It was cool. Nick was asked about him after the game, saying, "Is he somebody on your horizon for Team Canada?" And this is a really good sign that they're asking Team Canada questions to Nick, and he's still answering them, and he's talking about like how he does really want to stay with the Team Canada, even if he doesn't leave. He didn't say that specifically, but him talking about Lindell Wigginton and saying that he is somebody they're keeping their eye on to maybe add to Team Canada because he's like making growth in his game with the Bucks is that was really good. And I like to hear that he still is very much interested in coaching Team Canada because that is something I'm worried about. Even if he leaves the Raptors, I do want him to still coach Team Canada because we need that continuity. And he's already established some good relationships with the young Canadians on that team. And I don't think that would be good for him to leave that job. I would trust him to do that job still to the best of his ability. But with the Raptors, it's different. It's a different situation at this point. But all right, let's look at those stats and see if Shev's right or not. Wigginton came in for 27 minutes. He shot 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 5 of 6 from free throw line, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block, 5 turnovers, 17 points. So he had a 1 to 5 assist turnover ratio. That's not good. Turning it over 5 times and only making 1 pass. Now that's no good. Let's look at him against who's a comparable player from our side. Well, I guess it's got to be Malachi. Even though Malachi played 9 more minutes than him, he outscored him 20 to 17. And his assist to turnover ratio was 4 to 2, which is 2 to 1, which is a lot better. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that Shev is doing that kind of stuff, but I don't know what he's saying exactly, Wayne. So I'm not going to diss him or anything like that. But Malachi's definitely a better point guard in the league than Wigginton is at this point. But then again, Malachi's been in the league longer, and Wigginton is just starting to emerge right now. Leslie's saying, did anyone else see Fred's brother cheering like crazy at the game yesterday? It was cool because Fred didn't play. Yeah, specifically on the Boucher dunk right near the basket, they cut to Darnell, and he was just like going crazy. I did see that, and I really enjoyed that too. And that it does say a lot that this guy is rooting for our team in general, not just his brother. Fred didn't play, but Darnell's still at the game, sitting in his spot, and he did. He got up out of his seat when Chris threw it down real nice right next to him. It was fun. It was a nice catching moment caught on there, and everybody's like, "Whoa!" It's like Darnell. They're showing Darnell. Yeah, it was cool. Callie's saying, "Such a fun game. Makes a huge difference when the pressure is off and confidence is high." Yeah, that's gonna be the total opposite on Wednesday compared to Sunday. Sunday's game is the exact opposite. No pressure, no stakes. The other team doesn't really care about winning. Well, the opposite's going to be on Wednesday. Other team's going to be very much caring about winning, and we need to match that and be ready for it. Van Hoot saying, I will be honest. Again, I would be more than happy seeing the Candid Clutch crew gone with their media tours. Woo, Van Hoot coming in and fire. Yeah, you know what? Listen, I can get behind this sentiment. In some ways, I don't like the whole arrangement of a talent company or agency company in the Toronto or in the NBA that is owned by LeBron James. I still feel like this is such a weird conflict of interest. And maybe they've sussed it out so that he's separate and he doesn't have anything to do with it. But bullshit. He has a financial interest in this kind of stuff. And in some ways, it's really a conflict of interest. And the NBA is just getting more sorted with like really fucked up like relationships and all kinds of like handshake deals and behind back room like bullshit and politics and fucked up ways people are making money in fucked up ways. I still don't agree with LeBron being able to own a company like Clutch while he's an active player. And that is always going to be fishy to me. That will always be fishy to me. I have to worry about when OG's guarding him, whether he's really guarding him as hard as he can, because in some ways LeBron is part of his leader, his representation. It's I just wish LeBron would wait until he retires to get into these aspects of things with what he does, but he's not waiting, and they allow it, so it is what it is. But that's the part that bugs me about it. Is LeBron's connection to Clutch. That is what bugs me the most, really. G saying, apparently Clutch and Masai have a good relationship. If it helps get the team players because of this, I'm good with them. If they just play games and cause distraction, they need to be checked. Yeah, I'm totally with G right there, 100%. That's exactly right. In some ways, it's an advantage that they are the way they are because Masai does have a good relationship with them. He may have a way better relationship with them than most team presidents and GMs because in some ways maybe they don't respect those presidents and GMs like they respect Masai. It could be that they've done a lot of dealings with them and they're like no nonsense. And Masai comes and meets them with the same kind of professionalism and hard nosedness that you have to kind of respect that. There may be some GMs and team presidents around the league that are soft and pushovers, and Clutch can just run ramshot over. And that's the difference. In some ways, the respect between our front office, Bobby and Masai, and Clutch is very good. And in some ways, that may benefit us in dealing with them compared to other teams. They may be able to fleece other teams because they're not as tough as Masai. And that I'm glad about that, at least for sure. And I'm with you. If there are problems, if this whole dumpster fire with Nick Nurse is totally connected to advice given to him by Clutch, yeah, fuck you, Clutch. Get the fuck away from our team. We don't need dumpster fires. We don't need bad advice where you make our great coach all of a sudden a pariah in our fan nation. We don't need that. Trevor's saying, why everybody keep on talking about draft picks when we get our own development program in the 905. Those guys in 905 are better than draft picks. Yeah, in some ways you're right. We got to get our due like draft pick this year and get our project like we got Koloko last year. We'll get another guy this year, and hopefully there'll be a very top prospect that can shoot very very well, like a very very good shooter. That's what I want this year, Bobby. Don't fuck around. Get a good shooter. We need better shooting. So get a shooter in the draft this year. Cool Cat saying we had locker room issues, but we are a very young team and we sorted it out. Losing sucks and it brings out the worst in competitive athletes. Our drama did not unfold like other teams. Woo! Yeah, nobody punching anybody on the last day of the season. Nobody getting in somebody's face like that. Not like the Thad Young Scotty thing like earlier this season. This is true. Losing makes it really hard to stay together. And that's why Scotty keeps saying it every interview. We just tried to stay together all year. And I think they've been mostly successful. Mostly successful. I won't say they're 100% successful because I'll bet you there have been times where they have not stayed together, but they've come back together at certain points. Alex is here. Let's see what Alex is saying. All right, let's see. If we get into the playoffs versus Milwaukee, would that hurt our chances for a higher lottery pick? Actually, it would. I looked into this. Like in some ways, us losing and going out of the play-in is actually way better for our lottery chances. That in some ways they revert it that way, as far as like the teams that don't actually make the playoffs are actually the lottery teams. And if we lose in the play-in, we don't technically make the playoffs. And that puts us in that category with those other teams that are already out and eliminated yesterday. So this is true, Alex. If we do actually make the Milwaukee series by winning both the play-in games, that will lessen our chances with the ping pong balls. That is actually very true. And in some ways, somebody will say, like, well, why would we even try then? Like, some people want to tank for draft reasons all along. They've always been this way. I'm always anti that. I want to keep winning. I don't value the draft as much as some other people. So I'd much rather them get the series against Milwaukee than worry about that aspect of things. I don't care. Like, I don't care about getting a little bit, like little percentage more better on the draft lottery in certain ways. I'd much rather get the experience and have a full first round against the Milwaukee Bucks, even if we lose to them in the first round. So, but yeah, this is true. It would hurt our chances with the higher lottery pick if we do get the first round against Milwaukee. The cutoff isn't really making the play in. The cutoff is making the playoffs. And if you make the play in, but you don't make the playoffs, well, you kind of go back into that group with the teams that are already eliminated right now. Mike's saying a lot of different things happened this year. Everyone has said as much, but evaluating things this season has many different unique factors. Assuming it's just one thing isn't logically correct, in my opinion. Yeah, contributing things. And then, like I said, some things spiral into other things and they become their own problem. And the problems with Nick were not directly from Nick. There are problems with the losing, the problems with the confusion, maybe problems with injuries, problems with being frustrated. Maybe there was a little bit of a blow up with two individuals, Nick and somebody else, and that was really ugly, and that caused part of the problem. Problems spawn into other problems. And that's why you want to limit the problems. You want to take care of them right away. It's like, don't let them linger or ignore them and hope they just go away. No, that's the worst thing you can do. Meet them head on and try and fix them before they spawn into other problems next to it. And that's a big part of this year. Wayne's saying, Lex, DeMar and the Bulls issues are theirs. We share for Raptors, not for former players, no matter how celebrated when they play against us. Wish DeMar, Kyle, Kawhi, Norman when they play other teams. He's a special case, though. He's the only one. I don't root for Norman or Kyle or Kawhi like I root for DeMar. I honestly was a huge DeMar fan when he played for us the whole entire time. He was my dude. I got his bobblehead here. I've got his Funko Pop behind me in the box. He's special. And in some ways, I'm the kind of guy that doesn't like things that aren't just. Like, I don't watch NBC because of the way they did Conan O'Brien like 15 years ago. The way that they did Conan O'Brien wrong with Jay Leno and that whole fiasco made me boycott NBC for the rest of my life since. I do not watch that channel at all. It's because of how wrong they did Conan. And in some ways, the way that they did Conan is kind of like how we did DeMar. And that's why I kind of really identify with him. And if it's anybody like him and Casey, both from that summer, in some ways, I'm like, you know what? I kind of understand why they would feel raw about the Raptors and some of the things that happens. And in some ways, I really do celebrate and honor them for their part in our history. And that's part of the reason why. I mean, if it's anybody who's going to put us out, I'm glad it's DeMar because I know it's healing for him. And I know that I want him to heal because he's had a lot of pain and suffering in his life. And I want him to be happy. I want him to be a fulfilled person. And if beating the Raptors in a play-in series, I mean, I want us to win. Don't get me wrong. But I also, it's like I have no problem with DeMar beating us because he deserves it to a degree. He deserves the feeling of beating us in an elimination game and putting us out. He really does in some ways. And because he's gotten the raw end of the deal in a lot of ways. The San Antonio days were not easy for him, and that was tough. And like, seriously, he went into such a bad depression after we traded him. That was such a bad thing we did in some ways. Like, he worked so hard and built us up himself. And that's part of why I really do. Like, I'm a big fan of his, and I always will be. I'm not necessarily the fan of the team he's on all the time. I was on the Spurs and the Bulls, but I'm still a fan of him as an individual for sure. Fiercely saying OG for Defensive Player of the Year. That's right. I like that. I like that a lot. G saying Raps need to attack the paint. Barnes, Pascal, and Jakob. Vucevic can be soft at times. OG smothered DeMar and someone to limit Levine. Yeah, those are the three guys you got to really think about the most, but there are other weapons on that team. But yeah, DeMar, Levine, and Vucevic. And Vucevic has weaknesses. This is for sure. Like, Nick's going to really have to capitalize on the problems with Vucevic. Now, one thing that's really good is we played the Bulls earlier in the season, and Vucevic was a factor for dominating us. Well, Jakob will stymie that and not allow that to happen now. That it really is good we have Pirtle because Vucevic kind of dominated us at one point this season, and we can't have that happen in the game on Wednesday. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, I like the parity in the league. The East, the Cavs versus the Knicks, Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, not going to have an easy out. Tough defense, breakdown bodies. West, old rivalries meet up. Excited to see all the games. Cool Cat is in playoff mode and excited to see the whole playoff bracket and all the interesting matchups and rivalries and different things that are going to come from this. Like I said, the Celtics may have one of the hardest paths to try and get to the finals. And I love it. I love that so much. Make it so hard on them. Give them Kyle Lowry and the Miami Heat in the first round. Ooh, and then you get past that. And who do you have to play in the second round? Probably the Philadelphia 76ers in the second round. Ooh, I love that. It's Philadelphia versus Boston, a classic rivalry that really, really has never gone away. It's just dormant because teams have been shitty, but now they're both good. You're going to see that old Boston-Philadelphia rivalry if they end up playing each other in the playoffs. And then even when they get past that, they still got to beat the number one team in the East, probably the Milwaukee Bucks, if it's not us instead. Yeah, we could put us in the Eastern Conference against the Boston Celtics at that point. Woo, if they can get past Miami and Philadelphia, we'll have to see. It's going to be exciting. You're right, Cool Cat. It is very exciting. And the rivalries out West are very exciting. Wayne saying, oops, cheer, not share. You get the point. It's all good. It's all good. All right, y'all, don't write anymore for right now, just because I'm at 2 hours and I want to go ahead and finish up before I get to get too far. I don't want to go over 3. So, all right, let me make sure I get to the right spot. All right, here we are. Mike, the 2 losers of the play-in are in the draft lottery. The 2 winners of the play-in are not in the draft lottery and have no chance to move up from the lottery. See, Mike's reiterating what I was saying. That's exactly right. Cool Cat's saying, I want us to meet Atlanta Hawks for the play-in to make the playoffs. Butler and Lowry is not what our young team needs so early in their career. Our youngins' egos will be bruised forever. This is the thing. We play Miami on Friday. It'll be a lot like maybe that triple overtime game last season. It could be very crazy, wild circus matchup like we have been having with the Miami Heat the last couple of years. So in some ways, it would be fun, but it would be very dangerous. I'd feel like the chances of us beating the Hawks on Friday would be much better than beating Miami in Miami. So that's why I'd rather that. But if there is a Miami versus Toronto game on Friday, that will be a fucking circus and it'll be crazy. That game could be very epic, honestly. Mugarbe's here. Good to see Mugarbe Lennon. Good morning, Raptors freaks. Good with win yesterday. We can't just trade our loyal players, especially when they don't have a good season or a couple bad games. That's why we don't attract superstars in TO. I like this statement by Mugarbe, and I agree. It's like, show some loyalty, fans. Listen, there's ups and downs in a career. We saw Scotty get an offer last week. Did all the Scotty stands go after Scotty after you got an offer in a game? No, each one of these guys is going to have a dud game from time to time, and even a dud season. And I think that Mr. Lennon is very correct with this, that it reflects poorly on us, the way we turn on our players so easily and so quickly in a knee-jerk reaction. That we did this to Kyle Lowry for years. And in some ways, that probably really did bug him in some ways. It's like, you guys are such turncoats. You love me 1 minute and then you hate me 1 minute. Well, it's not all of us. It's specific ones. And just don't listen to them, please, Raptors. And I'm with you, Mugarbe. Listen, it doesn't look good, but you got to know that all fan nations in the NBA do this to a degree. So this isn't like just specific from Raptors Nation. Thank God. There's people doing it in every single nation. Trust me. Seymour saying, not gonna lie, the team looked good yesterday. I was impressed. Yeah, well, it's the bench, and they're gonna be good. They better be good because it's not a very good Bucks team, too. Excuse me. Cool Cat saying, no, I watched from home. Oh, you didn't go to the game yesterday. Okay. I thought you had said you got tickets for the rest of the season, that you were going to every game. Okay, well, either way, I'm glad that you got to see a good game. Hopefully, if we make the playoffs, I can get to our first game. Classic Jurassic Park will be in action. Going to be great for fans that can't afford the prices. Let's go. And it's nice out. It's sunny and beautiful. This is a perfect time of year to be in Jurassic Park outside watching the game. No snow, hopefully, no rain, none of that kind of stuff for sure. Shane's saying, you were exactly right, Lex. That injury had a lot to do with Precious's lackluster season. Precious will be a big factor in us beating up the Bucks and sending them walking the first round. Ooh, the Raptor freaks are strong with positivity, and I love this overwhelming positivity you guys show. In fact, when you guys are more positive about the Raptors than I am, I'm like proud of y'all. I seriously am, because I want to believe everything you're saying, Shane. And if it happens, I will be like, Shane said it. Shane said it, and I wanted to believe it, and we can believe it now because it happened. Yes, I love it. Shir Khan saying, all right, this is what he says. 40 people watching right now. Let's smash the like button. We need all the good vibes we can get out of Raptor Freak family. OG Precious can get lockdown D on DeRozan and Levine. I like this matchup a lot at home. Well, the proof is in the pudding. We've had good results against Chicago here in Toronto. The fans need to come correct. We need to kick their ass. This is a do or die. You don't win on Wednesday, you're done, Raptors. And show that the will to survive is still strong in y'all, even though it may not seem like it is in your coach. And I hope that you guys just win despite him. Win despite Nick. Nick wants to go and take some weeks off. Don't let him get those weeks yet. Keep winning. Mike's saying, I think determining the root causes of the issues and not knowing the compounding factors is the key to Masai's deep dive this season with projecting the future, true value of players and coaches' strengths. Masai probably knows exactly what he needs to do, and it's probably not going to be easy. That may be part of the reason why this is going to be tough. Like I said, man, I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's got to do, but he probably already knows what he needs to do. And he's probably already got the wheels in motion behind the scenes to go start towards that. When it needs to be publicly known, we will know what he needs to do. But he probably knows already. He probably has a good idea what will fix this team. And hopefully he can, and it'll happen clean and everything will be good. Monique's saying, why would Fred leave? Number one, Layla was just born. You can't travel so young. Fred's heart is here in every way, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. Yep. That's a really good reason right there. Some people say, well, it doesn't matter. You have a baby and move. Otto just had a baby too. And what if he has to leave or something like that? But this is true with Fred. It really is. Toronto is like home because we picked him and we decided we wanted to take a chance on him and bet on him while he's betting on himself, and allowed him to bet on himself and make him into who he is. And in some ways, he's ingratiated and feels really, like he owes the Raptors to a degree for his career. And in some ways, that kind of loyalty you can't buy. It's really, really good to have. And that's why you don't want to diss it. That's why you don't want to dismiss it. That's why you want to honor it and keep it, because loyalty like that is very valuable, especially in a caliber player like Fred. And that's why I'm sick of disrespecting him. I want y'all to respect him, people out there in Raptors Nation. That this dude is a loyal Raptor. He's somebody who very much values being in Toronto, and we don't want to turn him off from that in some ways. Cool Cat saying year 3, serious assessment of Scotty development, shooting ability, aggressive consistency, consistent complete play all quarters. If Scotty makes the jump for year 3, we will have a competitive season. Yeah, he made some jumps this season, but not enough in the ways that would really have a huge impact on us in the standings. That's the thing. He's that kind of player that can make a jump that will really help us in the standings. Like all of a sudden, we're like a 50-win team next year, partly because Scotty took more initiative on the offensive end and took more control with his jump shots in the lane and just his bully ball and different things he's doing. He improves his three-point shooting and just does better things. He's more savvy and more vet because of more experience, and he knows more and what to do in certain situations because he's been there before and it's familiar. All that kind of stuff will add up to him improving and getting better next year. And we'll just have to see how big the leaps are in certain ways. But those leaps are going to directly contribute to like 4 or 5 more wins for the season, or even like as many as 10 more wins for the season. Who knows? Van Hoot saying Goran Dragic sniffs farts. All right, you're getting a dunk for that, because not only was that childish, that was funny, and it was great, and you dissed him. So Van Hoot is on the dunk board for saying that he sniffs farts. That was so immature. I love it. Yes, I love it. That's great. All right, Paul B's here. Good to see Paul B holding it down in Wisconsin. What's the word on the street out in Wisconsin right now after the game yesterday, Paul B? Let's hope for the best in the play-in. But Bulls, we've beaten them before. Miami, we know Scotty is going to show out. We can beat them too. Raptors can beat the Bucks too. Make your shots, play as a team. Now he knows the Bucks because he's living in Milwaukee, or not in Milwaukee, but somewhere in Wisconsin. Paul's over there, so he's hearing all the Bucks stuff all the time, I'm sure. Yeah, I like what you're saying here, Paul. I think the Bulls for sure we can beat them. Miami, we could beat them. It'll be a tough matchup. I like Atlanta more. And if we get Milwaukee in the first round, it'll be a hell of a series. Oh, it'll be a hell of a series. And I don't know necessarily that's what Coach Bud wants. I think in some ways he would probably prefer playing either the Bulls or the Hawks over the Raptors in the first round for sure. Or not the Heat though, probably. Starscream's here. Good to see Starscream, Brooklyn Nets fan. We have not seen Brooklyn Nets fan all season, but good to see Nets fan. We're okay, Starscream. We worried about you. Let's see what's up. Lex, didn't I say you guys would be fine when people wanted you guys to blow it up? You guys match up well with Chicago and Atlanta and Miami. Good to see you, Starscream. And we've wondered how you've been doing. I see you got your Jets icon in there. Listen, what a weird year for you guys. In some ways, you lost your big 3, but you really got a very interesting player with Brooklyn Bridges. And there's some real bright spots with this. I think it is going to be interesting with your first round matchup against Philadelphia. Some people are saying, is this going to be the Ben Simmons revenge tour against Philly? I don't even know what's going on with that guy. Is he playing or not in the playoffs? I don't know. But, man, fantastic. In some ways, the way your guys have gelled since the big moves and how they played is very interesting. And then Jack Vaughn doing a good job as a coach. The Nets had a very successful season considering everything. It's much better than last year in some ways. And I'm proud of you guys for weathering the storm and getting the toxic out of your team. There's a lot of promise for your future at this point. And, this is way better situation. Your owner, Joe, is finally actually walking the walk that he talked as far as like getting the toxic out. So there's some things. I appreciate you believing in us in the playing bracket against those teams. In some ways, I want y'all to kick Philly's ass because y'all are the underdog in that series. And I really like Mikhail. I think he's such a fun, dynamic two-way player. And I want to see them do really well against the Sixers. If anything, extend that series as long as you can. Just extend it as long as you can and do whatever you can. In some ways, you guys are like us last season playing against the Sixers. And I want to see y'all have success, Brooklyn. If in fact, if you put the Sixers out, I wouldn't be upset about it. In some ways, I kind of like y'all more because you've got a different makeup on your team and you have Yuta. We always love Yuta up here. Smooth saying, Golden State hates when people question their perceived greatness. I know, these arrogant fucks, especially Clay and Draymond. It's like they hate when other teams are ascending. They were descending. This is it for them. I really hope so too, Smooth. They're so cocky and arrogant, and they're old. That's part of it. And their team isn't as good as they've been. Like last year, in some ways, them winning the championship was kind of a fluke, if you ask me. It's like a weak league year overall. And in some ways, Boston should have beat them, but they just didn't. They didn't. They should have beat them, though. And the Warriors' experience and from all that got them there. Drake putting big money bets on them to win the West, where he made a whole bunch of money. Yeah, I wouldn't do that this year. No, I would not. Kevin is on the Phoenix Suns. And this is looking very interesting, that nucleus in Phoenix. And, Clippers are healthy to a degree with Kawhi Leonard. It's very dangerous teams out West this year compared to last year. You ain't going to have no chump Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic to make fun of Golden State. Yeah, you got some tougher teams in some ways on the path this year to get the finals. And, yeah, I want to knock Clay and Draymond off their block. Those two in particular, I hate. Like, they are really jackasses. Draymond had a really good interview with Pascal last week, which I enjoyed, but he is arrogant and he's a jerk. And Klay Thompson is such a jerk too. I don't like those dudes. I like Steph. I really, really like Steph Curry. He's a guy I really, really like, but I don't like those other guys on that team. And I don't like Jordan Poole either. So I'm rooting against the Golden State Warriors. I don't want them to do well. I want them to get put out by Sacramento. Let's see. Logical saying, interesting enough, we were over 500 against the conference. The West shuffling hurt us large this year. A lot of West changes this year, and teams switch players and systems and outcome weighting. A lot of our was luck when we played certain teams was just really bad luck this year, and that's a lot of it too. Jimmy's saying they can dream. Masai, Nick ain't going nowhere. Also, he has not given up on this team. Do you still see him out there in the iconic squat arguing for guys? I do. Be careful what you wish for. See, this is a great thing. We have such positive Raptor freaks in here that they're even more positive than me right now. And I love this. Seriously, Jimmy, please. I want you to be right. I don't want to be right on this. I'm going by what I'm seeing. And I didn't see him squatting out there. That's one thing I do look for is when he's squatting, I know he's working. No, I've been seeing Nick sitting on the bench and not barely standing up during the game recently. That's what I've been seeing more. I've been seeing him more kind of on autopilot. Maybe you see something different than me, but that's not what I'm seeing, Jimmy. I'm seeing him on autopilot to a degree. Starscream saying Miami is highly overrated other than Strus and maybe Hero. Their three-point shooting is awful. And I think OG and Scotty can lock down Jimmy. Jakob and Bam is like a wash. And I guess Kyle can hurt you, but Kyle, sometimes he won't. He's old. He's really showing his age at time. But, this is a good breakdown of the Miami versus Toronto matchup for sure, Starscream. I won't disagree with a lot of this. Their three-point shooting can be a problem, though. Like, they have other guys, too, that kind of stand up all the time. Like, Duncan Robinson can come in all of a sudden. Oladipo can hit threes sometimes. They're dangerous to a degree, but also they're not as good as they were last year even. And they're definitely not nowhere near when they were in the finals a couple years ago. Definitely nowhere near that level at all at this point. I think you're right. Miami's a little bit suspect, but they're still dangerous. They're kind of like this old guy on the court that you could probably beat, but he's still going to probably be really hard to beat because he knows his shit and he's kind of still got something. Wayne saying Delano's attitude has to be to attack the basket. He's the best finisher at the rim of all the Raptors. He tends to follow the program when playing with the core. We want to see 15 pounds and aggression. Yeah, I like that order that you're putting in for Delano for this offseason. I don't mind seeing 15 more pounds of muscle on him. And yeah, the aggression's been there. We want to see it more focused and even more successful in the future too. Infamous is saying the team really needs to work on shot discipline. You just don't take the shot because it's open. The other teams play us into the trap all the time. Yeah, they leave certain guys on our team open and dare them to shoot. And they're usually the guys that shouldn't be shooting, whether it's Precious or Scotty. Sometimes they're left open for threes and they're dared to shoot. Well, they can nail them, then we're all good. But that is part of it, is like the teams on the other side are figuring out the best lower percentage shots to give us and just like kind of funnel us towards. And that's part of the reason why we look so bad shooting sometimes. They really know who they should be letting shooting on our team and not. Mike saying Mo is for real. Raps fan loyalty. Yes, she is. That is a real super fan, and she's been there since day one. Van Hoot is saying, I agree that Nick has potentially perpetrated it, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a problem or that it isn't too far gone. Think about it this way. He has benched everyone but one guy. Ooh, well, he hasn't benched a couple of guys. There's a few guys he's never benched. He's never benched Fred. He's never benched Pascal. He's never benched OG. He's never benched Scotty. And honestly, he's never benched Pirtle either. I mean, he benches him for like matchup reasons or not wanting him to be out there for foul purposes late. But really, there's a list of guys he never benches. He never benches Pascal. There's been times this year where I've been like, Pascal is not playing up to his ability. He's playing lazy. You should get him out to give him a message to get up with his energy and just take him out for a second. There's nothing wrong with doing that to a star player. Take him out for like 2 minutes and say, look, you're not playing with enough energy. I want you to sit for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to put you right back in and come back out with a new energy. If I was a coach in the NBA, I would do this to players all the time if I felt like they weren't actually putting the right energy on the court. And there's times where I see that with him. You know, Fred, I understand. Maybe that's who you're getting to, is you think that he's the one guy he never benches. Well, that's true. But he never, in some ways, he does. I guess he will bench Scott if he does kind of make a couple mistakes in a row. But, it's not like that. It's not like that in some ways. He has favorites, and they're all the starters. Paul B saying, also, if Fred or Gary want bigger paydays, they need to show up in this play-in games. I'm sure they don't want to limp into a potential free agency, or who knows, maybe they'll take their player option. Who knows? I don't know. They want to play well, obviously, to showcase things so that they can get paid correctly. Of course, they want to have be heroes and stuff like that. But they will, and they'll be fine. Infamous is saying, if we're going to go after LeBron for Klutch, then we need to have that same energy next year when players start promoting betting sites. Oh my gosh, that sounds like all nightmare what you wrote in there, Infamous. You're trying to say, all right, if we're going to draft Bronny and get LeBron on our team, because that's the only way we're going to get Bron, is we're going to get Bronny. And that's what he said. Whatever team drafts Bronny, he's going to try and sign LeBron to play with him. That's the only person that he wants this so bad. And he's going to make this happen. In fact, his contract with the Lakers is like in a way where he can be freed right away when Bronny comes to the league. And he's going to do this. I don't want these players to start promoting the betting sites. In some ways, we've heard Siakam say how he hates them and he hates how this is added to things. So in some ways, this can be really interesting to see if any of the players do actually start advertising for the betting sites, because some of the other players may not respect them for that. Because the phenomenon what's happening with the betting sites, I'm sure universally across the NBA, the players do not like it. And that if one of them decides they want to take like a couple $1 million contract to be in the commercials for it, there may be some sort of retribution for players on the down low for somebody being a sellout like that. So in some ways, it may be taboo to be actually one of the players actually being used in the advertising for betting sites. We'll have to see how this all goes and see who the first one is and see how they get treated, because I could see this being something on the down low that the players are all like, you know what, let's not do this. Let's not encourage this. Let's not lend our likeness to advertising for this, because in some ways this is very hurtful and it's bad for our mental health as a whole, as a group. And we are not going to endorse this because we feel like it's bad for the game. And I think that they may take this stand. There may be somebody walks that line and goes over there. Well, let's see how they treat that person for doing that. That's what I'm saying. So I don't think that everybody's going to be jumping for that betting site money to be in their ads. Seriously. Because in some ways, you may put a target on yourself as being like you're part of the problem. I don't know. We'll have to see. Very interesting. Jam Joe's is here. Yo, I ain't got much to say except let's go, Jam Joe's. Let's go. He's got the fist. He's got the umbrellas. He's got some cups. He's got a medal. I love it. Jam Joe's very positive. Let's go. Wednesday, baby. Play-in tournament. DeMar DeRozan, Chicago Bulls here. Scotiabank Arena, Toronto. Wednesday night. You better be ready, Freddie. You better be ready, Gary. Let's go get him, Scotty. Yeah, I'm all about it. Van Hoot's saying, if we have a good relationship with Klutch, let's help relations long by sending people who are Klutch where they want to go and need to go out of here. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Now, the last part is the part I very much agree with. And this is why I don't want to negotiate with Nick, because in some ways, what he did was very terroristic and very like self-serving and very kind of like that kind of energy where it's kind of like, yeah, I'm daring you, or I'm going to be like destructive, or like this. You don't want to fucking deal with those kind of people. Just send them packing. I'm very much with Van Hoot on that. But I think it's funny that he's saying, well, if we deal with them so well, let's deal them right on out. Van Hoot, you're on fire today. Infamous is saying, I consider the play-in a part of the playoffs. Well, technically it isn't. In fact, the stats from Wednesday will not count anywhere. They're in this weird purgatory that doesn't exist in either the regular season or in the playoffs. In fact, the stats that all of our guys, we could have a guy score 50 points on Wednesday and it won't go in the record books other than in the playoff record books. It won't go towards playoff stats. That's the thing. That's the weird thing about the in-between of the play-in is that it's not technically playoff stats and they won't count them towards playoff stats. Isn't that crazy? I think they need to amend that. I think I'm with you, Infamous, that the play-in should be considered playoff stats also, because it is postseason and it is a part of maybe being eliminated, and that those stats should go towards people's career postseason stats. But the fact that they don't belong anywhere right now is kind of weird. They're kind of like Bermuda Triangle games where the games don't count for nothing. This is really weird. But in some ways, I think they need to fix this, because last season I heard people griping about how the play-in stats didn't go towards anything in their career as far as their career totals. And I think that they should be considered playoff games too. I'm with you, Infamous, but they aren't right now currently. Let's see. Logical is saying that Pirtle versus Vooch is going to be interesting to test our current center playing strength going into the evaluation at the end of the season. Yeah, I think that he's had good success against Vucevic. I'm not afraid of Vucevic. We have such a history with him from the Orlando time with him that we really handle him really well. He's not like one of these centers that I lose sleep over. He's somebody that we very much have had good success in containing and not allowing to have big games against us. So I'm not as worried with him. And especially now that we have Pirtle, he's somebody that can really, really keep him in check with his size equaling him. Shirkan saying, yeah, if we make the playoffs, we lose our spot in the lottery. If we win, then lose, still make the lottery. Order is set by record of all teams who didn't make it. No lost in their prime spot because they got in. In some ways, we can't lose, Shirkan. That's the way we should look at it. Every single thing that happens to you in your life, whether it's good or bad, just paint it in the good light. Figure out how to get the good side of it and really emphasize and spotlight that side of things. So we do lose in the play-in. We don't make it to the first round against Milwaukee. Well, then we can say, well, at least we did better in the draft lottery and our chances with that. That's what I'm saying. Play to win at all costs and make the best out of any outcome is the way to live your life. Jimmy's saying 14 games we lost by 4 less this season. Take that for what you will. Yeah. Games that maybe we would have won with Kyle Lowry still on the team. Like that dog, that little extra gumption as a leader and saying, guys, we got to win this game. Kyle Lowry is that kind of dude. And he would have willed us to a few more wins just himself by himself. Yeah, I don't like how many close games we lost this year. And definitely some of those could have gone our way. We would have been above 500 team this season. Leslie's saying, I agree with you on the draft lottery, Lex. It's somewhat overrated. How can we put all of our hope and eggs in the draft basket? and one individual player that we have no idea whether they're going to ever pan out. There's such things as draft busts. There's things like Greg Oden. There's all kinds of stuff like that. And listen, in some ways, we'd much rather get the playoff series with Milwaukee than the higher draft lottery stuff, is because at that point, listen, we're still going to be like the 12th or 13th best chances at this point if we don't make it. And that could mean that we get a 8 or higher draft pick, but it's not likely. So we're probably still going to be picking around 10 or so anyway. So it's like, let's go ahead and win and get into the playoffs and get the experience for Scotty Barnes and the youngsters instead. Because the position in the draft lottery, well, we could get a really lucky ping pong ball and we could get in the top 5 still. But in some ways, that's not what we want. We want the experience in the playoffs. Shirkan saying, W stream again, Lex. We can wrap up early to give your vocal cords a break. You can tell. I used to work at Budget Rent-A-Car in the early 2000s, and I rented cars over the phone, and I'd have to speak for 8 hours straight. And I literally had my throat was like a pitcher's arm in baseball. And I have to rest it and have rest days where I wouldn't speak at all because I spoke so much, so straight for 8 hours straight on the phone, renting cars. And I would feel it at the end of the day. Like I literally feel the muscles in my throat, like strong, like working out, just like somebody would work out any muscles because I talked so much. It was crazy. But yeah, I'm going to need to rest. I need to rest. Shirkan saying, I hope we get a nice mascot matchup before the game on Wednesday. Thanks again for a great season of live streaming. Thank you, Shirkan. Thank you for joining us and being a big part of this year. And I know you're going to be here for good now. And I'm really appreciating more and more great Raptor freaks joining our nation. Starscream saying, honestly, if it wasn't for the 4 games against Katie and Kyrie helped us win against you guys so early, we probably would have switched places. That goes to show how bogus this season series being over so fast was. That is something that we've complained about a few times this season, about playing the Nets all the games so earlier in the season. I mean, Jack Armstrong said it on our broadcast. Like, what is this? They're a division rival. You're supposed to get spread out through the whole season so you can have benchmarks of testing against that team, the beginning of the season, somewhere in the middle of the season, somewhere in January, and then one at the end of the season. And you can actually see the journey of the team against them. But we did not get that chance. In fact, almost all of our games were won by Kyrie. Kyrie absolutely dominated the fourth quarters against the Raptors this year, and actually like single-handedly in some ways won at least 2 of the games against the Nets for you guys against us. And this is so true. And I mean, you're a Nets fan and you're saying that it seems screwed up from your perspective on things. I don't know if we would have beat y'all with the new look with Mikal Bridges and all the new guys. You guys were playing well on and off at different times since then. And honestly, we've been so up and down with whether we're the right Raptors or not every day. It would have been really a crapshoot and a roulette wheel to see where the ball would land as far as whether this is a capable Raptors team or the imposter Raptors team. So there's no telling. You guys could have beat us also with Bridges' addition of the team also. But this is something that is a problem with the schedule this year. The fact that we played such an important division rival, all of our games were done by December the 10th, that was messed up. And they did the same thing with the Knicks, too. The Knicks also, we saw them to a certain point in December, and then we didn't see them again for the rest of the year. And in some ways, it's screwy. And then you look at it where we had to play both our games against Boston just a couple of days ago, right at the end of the season. Yeah, there was some really fishy, screwy shit about the schedule this year. Very, very fishy, screwy shit. These 2-game series were very screwy and fishy also. Leslie's saying, thank you again, Lex, for giving us all a great regular season. It's been great laughing, venting, and expressing our love for the Raptors. XO Raptor Freak family and a big heart, nice heart emoji. Love to see it, Leslie. It's my pleasure. And thank you for taking the time and being here with us. It's time shared and it's time valued by me for sure. And I'm glad that you guys value the time also. That really means a lot to me. Van Hoot saying, you said dunk, and I thought you said dump, and I was sad. I thought it was a strike. No, it's the opposite. You got a dunk, which is way better. There's strikes on this channel. Sure. No, you didn't get a strike. You got a dunk. That's the best. I mean, I have the standings here. I'll kind of show it to you guys on the screen. This is what the dunk standings look like. and it's basically everybody's name with X's. And as you can see, Kareem near the top has the most dunks. Seymour has quite a few dunks there too. But this is the actual score sheet. So right now, Kareem has got 6 dunks. Seymour has 5. Space Cadet's got 2. David's got 2. I've got 2. MSJ's got 2. And Race Mode's got 2. And then everybody else on this list has 1, including Van Hoot and Mo and Lion Hunter and Isaac Campbell. But yeah, it's a dunk. It's actually a good one. I don't know. We're just going to keep them forever. And there's no prize for it. It's just that you get higher on the dunk standings and Raptor Freak channel by getting a dunk. And that's usually just a comment that we find witty or comical or funny. Like Race Mode got a double dunk for saying that he's not going to bring his wife to the games if Ime Udoka is the coach for the Raptors next year. We were like, yes, dunk. It's so good. You thought I said dump? That's actually funny too. All right, let's see. Monique saying W streams all around, all season. Keep at it, Lex. Raptors forever. Go Raptors. Let's get it togetherness all times. Keep in touch. Of course, Monique, we'll stay in touch. You know, we'll have the get together at the end of the summer, and I hope you'll come again maybe we'll do it again just at Noonan's, because it seemed like that venue worked out pretty good. So we might just do it again at Noonan's. If not Noonan's, it'll be the Real Jerk or something. Van Hoot saying he benched Pascal in the Tampa season. Yeah, he's benched Pascal at different times. And then when they're younger, they've gotten benched too. So I'm sure Fred's been benched at some point. Jam Joseph is saying, I think Malachi heard Chev because he looked that Scotian up. Him and Gary put the beats and the boy. But Boogie is nice though. I see what Chev is saying. All right, I'm not totally following what you're saying exactly. But you're saying that Malachi heard Chev because he looked that Scotian up. He looked him up. Oh, that's crazy. All right. And him and Gary put on the beats. And boy, they did look really good. Gary and Malachi were my 2 best players yesterday. Listen, this is an interesting one. Tristan Thompson has been added to the Lakers roster at the last second at the very end of the season. And a lot of people are laughing about it because they believe in the Kardashian curse. You know, I don't say that word very often, but I will say it with them in particular. And this is kind of funny. Like, Tristan, what the fuck? Why are you guys getting Tristan? I know he's been begging y'all to sign him for the last month or so. He's been saying all this stuff. Just sign me, LeBron, please, please. Well, they did. They went ahead and signed him. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like this is going to be something they regret at some point during these playoffs. The Lakers getting Tristan Thompson is going to be very interesting. Let's see. Van Hoot saying, also take care and enjoy the rest of the day. You too, Van Hoot. I appreciate you and your channel also and what you are doing on your side of things. Davis Mears is here again. Good to see Davis. Made it to 500 without punching a teammate. At least not in front of us. Maybe behind the scenes it happened, but I don't think so. Let's see. Gobert and Green or or tanking like the bitter Mavs. That's right. Raps challenged shady refs, betting sites, and got a decent CBA. Admit it, Lex. Rap season a success. I love this painting the picture. Davis coming in with a really hot take right here. Listen, this is exactly how I like to paint it. Fred took on the refs successfully and made a big deal out of this, put it out there in the conversation about the referees. And in some ways, he's a hero to the whole NBA Players Association and to a lot of the fans that Fred just spoke it like it is. That is a huge success for sure. And then, of course, you know, putting light on the betting sites and being outspoken about it. Our Raptors are leaders in this league, and they get heard and they're respected, partly because they're champions, partly because they're undrafted and they made themselves into something. You know, that's you know what? I love everything that Davis said here. It's exactly right. You know, we made it through a very tough, difficult season, and we're still standing. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to Tampa in that way. And that in some ways, still standing after such a tumultuous season is a success. And in some ways, I really appreciate your comment, Davis, for sure. Mike saying, and now Kyrie isn't even in the playoffs. We got screwed by timing and the changes made being recent and not having much tape on a lot of teams. One of the compounding issues, W stream. Yeah, timing was really bad for the Raptors. We had all kinds of things just kind of going against us. The schedule, timing of when we caught certain teams on certain times with injuries or when they had personnel or they made moves during the season, you know, and then of course the referees were very biased in certain times, really crucial times that really hurt us. And then we had our own brain fart and mental lapses at the worst times and allowed really bad things to happen like AJ Griffin. So, this whole season has been a real up and down season, and it's signified by the 500 record. In some ways, that's a huge accomplishment that we won just as many as we lost, considering the dysfunction, the bad feelings, all the 6-game losing streaks we had this year, and not very many long winning streaks that we had this year. And it's too bad. Davis got the cup out. All right, guys, thanks for slowing down on the comments so I could catch up. Just real quick, I'm going to read Jakob Pertl is a report from yesterday against the Bucks. He wrote it in Austrian, and then they actually translated it. So I'll read it in Austrian. Wir bin den Gründerchang mit einem heißen Sieg und sind ready for das Play-in. All right, he said, finish the regular season with a home win. JP19 Toronto Raptors. We finished the basic course with a home victory, and we are ready for the play-in. All right, Jakob says they're ready. I believe him. I believe Jakob. He seems like a trustworthy person. Once again, Dwayne Casey out as coach of the Detroit Pistons. He has been promoted to the front office. I'm going to guess he's probably the assistant GM now at this point. The write-up on us in the ESPN page about all the teams in the playoffs is fairly optimistic and very on point. Nothing too much to complain about. It's nice to see all the matchups finally made up for the playoffs yesterday. And what an interesting action-packed day in the NBA. Lots of drama, lots of intrigue, lots of dumpster fires. And thank God we weren't the worst one yesterday. All right, y'all. Tomorrow we're going to do Tuesday trivia. So be ready. If you guys like to play trivia, David, Amit, anybody else. Who was that? Who hasn't been coming around recently? There was like one of the top players that was Shanky. Where's Shanky? I wonder where Shanky is. Shanky should be trying to challenge David in the trivia, because the trivia season is going to wrap up when there's a champion in the NBA. There will be a Raptor Freak Tuesday trivia champion. And right now it's looking like David with his cup there sitting there. So 9:30 tomorrow morning, sharp, we're playing trivia. So if you guys want to play, come and play with us tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, preview for the play-in game against the Chicago Bulls. Thanks, everybody. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And thanks for being such positive Raptor fans. You're even more positive than me. And I love that. I love that so much that you guys are being even more positive than me. This is exactly what we need, as much positivity as possible, because we do have a toxic Raptors nation with a lot of crazy ass people in it right now. We will balance it, and we with the good ones, the ones that shine a light and show the Raptors that we do really love them. And we're not ready to just like come after them at the drop of a hat, like some of the people in our nation. All right, y'all, have a great day, and let's go Raptors. Yeah, let's go Raptors. Yeah, Race Mode Daily. I'll see you at